I will.
I'm on voice.
Yes, hi. And so Tyria, I see your recording. Thank you. Good evening. Call this regular meeting of the Town of Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It is Monday, August 24th, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. We are meeting via Zoom. We'll begin with a roll call of those present. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, present.
Mr. Lanky.
Bud B. Lanky, present.
Ms. DeRogers.
Missy DeRogers, present.
Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, present.
Ms. Chattel.
Christine Chattel, present.
Ms. Langlois.
Charlene Langlois, present.
Mr. Werge.
Present.
Mr. Rice.
John was having trouble connecting.
Gotcha. I see.
No, he's on. He's just muted. There he goes.
Okay.
Took a minute because I went to the agenda that was posted that Gloria sent, and that wouldn't let me into the meeting. I don't know if anybody else had that
Yeah,
situation.
it wasn't a live link on there.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't live.
I got it from the website.
I did too. That's why it took me a minute to go back to the website.
Okay. Mr. Rice is present. Excellent. And wait to see. I'm not sure if there's iPhone if anyone either. We will seat Mr. Hill for Mr. Blackmer and Mr. Santos for Mr. Nelson. Item 2, public hearing. There's none. Item 3, discuss public hearing and possible action. There is none. Item 4, approve minutes. July 22nd, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting of the public hearing.
Joe, do you want to give Randy a call? Because I would assume he wants to be in on this meeting, but doing what I usually do is just go to the agenda and click on it, comes on. So he probably doesn't know to go to the website, the agendas and meetings. And maybe you could get him on the phone.
Yeah, we can try to do that. Cindy, do you have his number?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I didn't bring the numbers home.
That's okay. No,
I can look it up.
While we are trying to make that happen, in the meantime, we have the minutes from the July 22nd public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written for the July 22nd special meeting.
I'll second that.
Mr. Santos moves, Mr. Hill seconds the approval of the minutes of the July 22nd special meeting. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, it is a yes to approve the July 22nd minutes. No, not to. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Mr. Lanky.
John B. Lanky, yes.
Mr. Rogers.
Missy DeRogers, yes.
Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, yes.
Ms. Chattel.
Yes.
Christine Chattel, yes. Ms. Langlois.
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Mr. Werge.
I don't believe I was at that meeting. I abstain.
And Mr. Werge abstains due to absence. And Mr. Rice.
I did the same. I'm not sure. I didn't check those. I was just reading the last one. I'm trying to get a hold of Randy here. So I'm going to abstain because I'm not sure what's going on here until I get a hold of Randy.
Okay, thanks, John. The minutes are approved as sent. July 27th.
For whatever it's worth, John, you and Bob were both there.
Both there, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were too.
July 27th, 2020, Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to
I'll
accept.
second.
Mr. Lenke moves to accept. Mr. Rogers seconds. Any discussion on this motion for the July 27th regular meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none, it will be a yes to approve as written and sent. No, not to. Mr. Hill,
Alvin Hill, yes.
Mr. Lenke,
John B. Linky, yes.
Hey, Randy, are
Mr.
you
Rogers,
trying to get into the meeting?
Missy DeRozier's, yes.
Mr. Santo,
I know. You
Brian
have to go
Santos.
to the
Ms. Chattel,
Christine Chattel, yes.
Ms. Langlois,
Charlene Langlois, yes.
oops, sorry. Mr. Werge,
Yes, if I was at that, I'm confused as to the 22nd and 27th.
yeah, so
I wasn't at one of them. I don't know which one.
the 27th you were not at.
Right, so I'll abstain on that.
And would you like to,
Go back to yes on 22 July, yes.
okay, so Gloria, Mr. Werge amends his vote for the first motion to approve the July 22nd
Right,
minutes, and he votes abstention on the July 27th minutes.
correct.
Thank you, Mr. Werge. Mr. Rice,
Sorry, I'm gonna abstain because I haven't checked that. I don't know. I didn't have time to check that today.
and Joseph Parodi Brown, yes.
Excuse me, Joe, and Randy's asking what they're checking. They're on the previous minutes of what date, Joe?
July 27th,
July 27th,
the regular meeting.
our regular meeting. If it's the regular meeting, then I was there and I'll vote yes. No, the 27th, I think I left early. So, wasn't that the one I left early on?
No, that was that's the next one.
Okay. All right.
So Mr. Rice votes yes.
Abstain.
I'm sorry.
Randy Blackmore, yes.
Okay. So Mr. Rice abstains. Mr. Blackmer votes yes. Mr. Hill is now seated for Mr. Krogel, as Mr. Blackmer is now in the meeting.
Can you hear that all right, Randy?
Yeah, just about.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be a long meeting.
I'll have Joe talk up.
August 4th, 2020 special meeting minutes was canceled due to widespread power outage. August 17th, 2020 special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we, well, make the motion, but there is a part that I would like to bring up on one part of that, of the meeting of August 17th that I think was deleted.
Okay,
So-
go ahead.
So I will make the motion to accept it, but need to amend a certain part of it.
Okay, so go ahead and point out where you are, John.
Okay, it would be on page 6 towards the bottom, and it has to do with the excavation permit for cubic yard that Alvin Hill submitted. And I remember making a motion to accept the Alvin Hill proposal and everything, and Brian Santos seconded. And then we went into discussion, and then things got, I think, a little out of hand. So that's from me recalling that part.
So the excavation permit cubic yard fee, before the call for a vote, you would like to amend to say John B. Lanky moved to approve 9 cents with an escalation to 15 cents. And Brian Santos seconded.
Yes. Now you can confer with Brian. If he differs, then he differs.
That's the way I remember it as well, John.
Okay, so the motion has been made to approve the minutes with that amendment, with that correction. Is there a second to that motion to approve as amended?
I'll second.
Mr. Santos seconds. Any further discussion on the motion to approve the minutes as amended? Hearing none, it is yes to approve as amended, no to take some other action. Mr. Hill,
Alvin Hill, approve, yes.
Mr. Lenke,
John B. Linky, yes.
Mr. Santos,
Brian Santos, yes.
Ms. Chattel,
Christine Chattel abstained due to absence.
Ms. Chattel abstains due to absence. Ms. Langlois,
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Ms. Langlois, yes. Ms. DeRogers,
Missy DeRogers abstained.
Mr. Rogers abstains. Mr. Werge,
Abstain, not present.
Mr. Werge abstains. Mr. Rice,
John Rice abstained and left meeting early.
Mr. Blackmer,
Brady Blackmer, yes.
Mr. Blackmer votes yes, and Joseph Brody Brown votes yes. The minutes are approved with the amendment. Item 5, applications received. Planning and Zoning Commission 20-17, site plan review, property owner Charles Tewksbury, 0 Bros Landing Road, map 141, block 17, lot 203 and 204 and 205, R40, new home construction on a town unaccepted, approval permitted by the Planning and Zoning Commission according to Town of Thompson Ordinance, Article 4, building on unaccepted streets, and Section B, 1 and 2 gives the Planning Commission the option of issuing written permission for the building permit. Just a reminder to commissioners, this was discussed, the part about the ordinance was discussed at our July regular meeting, and we asked Mr. Tewksbury to join us. He's made an application, so he would like to join us and put forth the application. Mr. Tewksbury.
Is Bruce from KPW on?
Bruce was away on vacation.
Oh, okay.
So he was going to try to join us if he got back in time, but he couldn't promise me he'd be here.
Okay, so want to identify yourself, Charlie, so they know who you are?
Okay. Get that?
I'm sorry, yeah, just go ahead, your name and address, please.
Charlie Tewksbury, right now, 1085 North Road, Dayville.
Okay, thank you. And so we've got the application. Is there anything you would like to speak to in the application?
Excuse me?
Is there anything you'd like to draw our attention to in the application?
No.
Anything specific?
Where's the CEO comments?
No.
Okay, that's great. We may have some of the commissioners may have some questions for you. Cindy, is there anything you'd like?
As I said, the site plan, which yours is very small, and I apologize for that. I made a notation that the front setback was 17.5 feet from the property line and 20 feet from the private road. And it does not state that on the site plan, but I did call either Bruce or I guess Charles called Bruce, and Charles called me back. So I made a notation, I believe, on your site plan there. That is my only issue, which is at the end of my comments on ZO comments under this application. Does that ordinance give you permission to approve it? Or do they have to go to the ZBA for a variance on the frontage? I don't know if the commission members have any questions of Charlie, and the Northeast District Department of Health has approved it. There are no wetlands issues on the property. So Charles, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, other than, we're trying to make it a better place up there.
Joe, if I may,
Mr. Rice?
a couple of questions in that,
1 and 2.
are these lots, is there enough room, Cindy, to put that house, have those lots, the 3 lots? It looks like there's 3 lots there in a photograph. Have they been combined under one ownership?
Yes, they have. Yes, I have the property cards here.
Okay, and is it Mr. Tewksbury understanding that he will have to improve that road from that site plan to the nearest town road? That includes the upgrading the road according to town standards,
What does that mean?
highway standards.
I've already fixed part of the road where I just built a house on 32 and we've fixed that road with millings. So what are you saying? What's the standards of that road? It's a dirt road.
Well, I guess you'll have to go onto the website and look that up, but normally that's improving that road where you have to have it permissible for fire and safety, fire trucks or anything else, emergency vehicles to get down to your residence. That's including the drainage and everything else that's normal for a town road.
I have a question, Bob Wirtz. What does B1 and B2 of the ordinance say? I don't have the copy of the ordinance in front of me. What does it say?
I'll try to pull it up, guys, but you'll have to bear with me. So continue on your questioning. I'll pull up the ordinances.
Tara, if I may, it says that no building permit for construction of any dwelling or remodeling any existing structure for dwelling purpose or replacement of any mobile home or trailer used for residential purpose or replacement of any mobile home or trailer used for residential purposes shall be issued for any lot which does not abut a town road or state highway unless the Planning and Zoning Commission shall have approved a subdivision plan. Apparently that's not the case. Issue written permission for the issuance of a building permit after having considered the impact of such structure under the neighborhood and town, and particularly with regard to traffic, residential density, access to sewers, or suitability for on-site septic system, size of the lot, purpose to be built upon, and suitability of the proposed structure to the neighborhood. And it goes on, any application for a building permit which is pending upon the effective date of the ordinance shall be referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval in accordance with the above provision. Then it's section 3 and section 4. You want me to read that again?
Thank you, Mr. Rice.
My concern with this, I mean, is that once we start approving these house lots on unimproved roads, what's next is that the ordinance allows the zoning commission to approve it, but we're gonna have a rash of building permits issued, because setting a precedent that this lot is being built on an unimproved road, i.e. the situation we had up on Star Road. My comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Oh, just can I say something?
Of course, yeah.
I apologize. My memo said that the ordinance was attached to the record. And I just looked at the record that was sent, and obviously I probably did not attach it to have Gloria send it to you, and I apologize for that. I did send you the minutes, the copy of the minutes from last month. So that is, I assume, my error.
Well, I read the ordinance, if I
Yeah.
may, Cindy.
Yes, you did.
I went to the town clerk to get that ordinance reading.
Yeah,
'Cause when I
the
see-
ordinance is in their record, because I placed it in their record, so. Sorry about that.
Well, it's Bob Wirtz. It's kind of a really, I don't know what decision in terms of that, because the town was sued when a person asked to build a house on an unimproved road, on a dirt road. And the suit eventually went through court and everything, and the person was given permission to build on the unimproved road. So I'm wondering, where are we at with this? When you say a precedent, you set a precedent, it's already been set, and it's seated in law that they can.
So what was the approval?
It was a town road. Now, in this case, it's not a town road. All right, it's not a town road. It's not accepted as a town road. So it is a bit.
So what did that court case base their approval on, Bob?
Private. It was a town road, and they can build on a town road that's not improved, an unimproved town road, as long as it's a town road. Now, in this case, I don't know, are we looking at a town road?
Bob, I think that case that you're quoting went through the courts about 3 years it took to settle that, and I'm not sure if that was the end result. I think the biggest thing was it was not recorded in the town listing of unimproved roads, et cetera, which seemed those records got lost for some reason.
Yeah, see,
I think we're addressing this along with what the ordinance says.
Okay, so the from December 1992, Town of Thompson unaccepted roads, Bros Landing Road is one of them.
Right.
On that list.
Yeah.
I do, correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, does the town of Thompson plow that road?
Yes, they
Okay,
plowed
they
it
do
and they grade it. They grade it to the corner. When I was there this year, you guys they came down, they graded the road. And,
Okay.
you know, I'm willing to do any part here. I'm willing to widen this road where the hill goes down to make it easier, because right now, past my property, fire trucks can't get down there easily. And I have the ability on my last lot to cut some of this out so that you have easier access to those lower lots. I'm willing to do that if it helps this process. You know, like I said, I want to make it better up there. I have property on the other side of the road, and I'm just trying to make this more accommodating, you know, for my family.
If anybody been into John Rice again, Gloria, is that if anybody attended the selectmen's meetings, there was always a lot of discussion about Bros Landing, and Rich Benoit, that's the last piece of property or road that gets plowed in the town of Thompson after all the other roads, because it is a private road, and the town just graciously plows it. But there's always a current concern from Rich Benoit, the town superintendent, saying that the trucks have to back up because there's no turnaround down at the bottom for the trucks. There's no area for snow.
There is now.
Now, like I say, it's got to show on. Charlie or whoever it is that fine. I think if you can develop a site plan for me that show you're going to improve the road, where it's going to be improved, how, so the emergency vehicles and town vehicles can get down there, then I'd reconsider it, but I definitely would want to show it to the highway foreman.
Bob Wirsch again. This is a pretty volatile situation in that we have to understand the difference between a private road and a town road. We have issued over the years building permits and allowed homes to be built on private roads, not necessarily having to be a town road. A good example is Little Pond over here. It's a private road, and there are numerous houses that have been built on it over the years on a private road. The people that live on the road maintain the road. They pay to have it plowed, or they plow it, or whatever. So we're in a very volatile situation in terms of decision. We've done it in the past. Does that mean that we need to go forward and do it again and issue a building permit on a unaccepted town road? We have been doing that. So,
Bob, did you just mention a private road? There's a difference between a private road. This article addresses unaccepted streets, duly adopted at a special town meeting. So I wouldn't want to combine a private road and a unaccepted road. I think we have to address what the ordinance gives us permission to do only on unaccepted roads.
right.
Okay, and so once again, I'll repeat. I have it right in front of me, 1292, Town of Thompson, unaccepted roads. Roads that will not be plowed by the highway department and/or town hired contracted.
Yeah.
Listed for 911 purposes only. The highway department, there's asterisks, and/or the town hired contractor will plow those roads after the main roads have been plowed. And since this was 1992, actually, that is not asterisk, but interesting enough, on your comment, Bob Wirsch, Center Street does have asterisks on it. Elm Avenue has asterisks on it. Hiawatha Drive has asterisks on it.
Right. Right.
So perhaps that changed doing Bros Landing after 1992 because they do plow it. So,
Cindy, if I recall, that was approved under those conditions to be the last to be plowed at a selectmen's meeting.
okay, all right.
Yeah, but then what's to stop a private landowner that has enough land to just build a road, a dirt road or whatever, and ask for a building permit?
He can, but he has to improve that road according to the town road standards to a town-owned road.
You do?
Sure.
Well, then why don't they do that on Little Pond? Why don't we do that on Little Pond and other areas in town? We don't.
No idea.
Yeah.
I'm just addressing this application, Bob.
It's it's a pretty tricky decision what we have here.
And can I ask a question just to confirm? This is Brian Santos.
Mr. Santos?
Mr. Rice, I heard you talk about the ordinances there. Does it say, I haven't heard of unaccepted roads. Is that true? Unaccepted roads equal a private road, or are there two different things entirely?
Good question.
Can't tell you, I don't know, but I know Cindy just was reading off unimproved roads, and that's what we're addressing, Brian, right now.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference between
Yeah.
a private road and unaccepted.
Neither do I. That's why I'm asking. So I'm listening to what Bob says about Little Pond, and I think that's accurate as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I know lots of roads over there that are private ways, and he's right, that the residents are taking care of those roads.
I don't have a problem with helping take care of the road. I have a plow. I mean, if that's
So,
the issue.
I mean, I just going to pose it back to the group here is if Charles comes up with a plan as the first resident to have this road, and then other people will live on there too, just like Little Pond. Would we look at that and approve that? I'm just trying to understand how.
I think what we're trying to find is the difference, I think, Brian, that you hit on it. What's the
Yeah.
difference between an unaccepted town road and an approved town road?
Yeah, a
There's a
private.
bit of a difference. But
Yeah.
what's the
Well,
difference between an unaccepted town road and a private road?
Yeah.
That's the
Is that
essence
right,
of the
Cindy?
question, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I think you're right. And unfortunately, I did not bring the ordinance book with me. And I have to be very honest, I never looked for either or definition in the ordinance book. What I can tell you, based on previous building, if there was any issue on that street with the house that he just demolished and rebuilt across the street, if there any issue came up, an immediate phone call was made to him, and pretty much immediately it was resolved. I believe that that's my view of what was going on that street. The new rehab house looks great, and he worked with Marla. There are no wetlands issue on this one. I feel that if you put conditions, if you're doing a condition that he finishes that road, that's going to be done. And that's what I have to say about my experience with Charles in building and then wanting this place here.
Cindy, did you check to see, was there a building permit issued for that house you're talking about?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And the CEO approved it?
Yes. Well, because it was in the same footprint. He had, Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you had issues with Marla that you resolved?
I did in the beginning. She wanted me to make some plans, changes to the plans. We did it with Bruce, and I think that place came out from what we had there. It's a lot nicer.
Well, it definitely is.
It was an eyesore when we started, and now now there's something there, and I just want to continue.
And all his permits are in place for that, and so that answered that question, John.
Would Mr. Tewksbury, am I pronouncing your name right?
Tewksbury. That's
Huh?
fine. You're not the only, it's Tewksbury.
Tewksbury, okay. It's not like Tewksbury, Massachusetts.
Just like
That's what I was going to say. It's a town in Massachusetts.
Same.
That's Brian's homeland.
Gonna have to Boston.
What would the revised site plan showing what you plan on doing on that road that would allow fire and safety and the town trucks to be able to maintain it should they, well, town already approved maintaining it, but it's last on the list. But I would like to see that on your site plan. Revised site plan, then I don't think I'd have a problem.
What are you looking for as far as,
I gotta,
into this piece of property here, there's no problem. And I don't know what I could do to improve the road all the way down to here. I'm talking past here. If you go past this piece of property down the hills where it gets narrow, and I fixed a lot of this. I've already fixed from the beginning of this property down the hill with millings because it kept washing out. Every rainstorm, the property would wash out. So I brought in millings and I spread millings, and it's done very well this summer, and it's holding it nice. I don't know what you would want for improvements. I guess that's what I'm.
to me, just as long as the, like I say, our big question is that you're supposed to upgrade the road. I'm trying to look at your map that Cindy gave us.
That's what I'm getting at though. I have upgraded the road. And it's
I'm sorry?
I have upgraded the road, and it's not even part of this. And I just don't know what more improvements you'd be looking for from me, that's all. I've done drainage at the top because that property was washing out when I got there. It was just everything, all down the hill was washing out, and I've stopped all of that. I'd like to continue down the hill a little bit to make, do a little bit more, but I just don't know how much you're looking for from me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get this. I mean, I want to, I want to retire up here. This is my done.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lanky?
what Mr. Rice is, I believe he's saying, and I'm kind of catching it. But if you had the problem where it was going downhill, or it was washing out at the end of the road, do you have like a cul-de-sac down there so the vehicles can turn around much easier?
There's no, you can't not where I'm at. I'm at the top of the hill. Past me is where all the problems are. Go past this piece of property and you go down the hill, that's where it gets all tight. And that's where they're talking about they can't turn around. That's not where I am. Because you're gonna have plenty of room to turn around in here. It's further past our property is where the town gets jammed up. And going down that hill, I own the last lot, 206. If I cut that lot back, that lot line back about 20 feet, trucks can get down there better. And I don't have a problem doing that. Because I can see where fire trucks would have a problem getting down there. I can make it a little wider there. But I can only go so far. I can only go another 50 feet because that's as far as my property line goes. You follow me?
Yeah. Yes.
You're looking at lot 206.
But my concern to you, sir, is that if whatever equipment, like Mr. Rice says, fire equipment, ambulance, town truck, or whatever, when they get down to the bottom and down towards the end where your property line is, there is no real way to move for a vehicle to turn around if it needed to. So is there any way or somehow that maybe you could create a cul-de-sac which would make any vehicle that had to turn around much easier?
I could make a backup spot. If a fire truck come in, and if you're looking at the way my house is right here and I got the proposed paving, they could back in the 203 side. I could make it so a truck could back in there. I got no problem doing that. I could put a long driveway up the side of that hill so that if a truck came down there, they could swing in, they could back in, and they can pull out.
Well, that's what the whole thing is.
I can do that. That's not an issue.
All right.
I have all my own excavators. I have everything. Whatever we need to do here, I can.
Not questioning you about your equipment and how to get it done. It's just.
But it's all gravel. It's easy to make roads over here because all this land it's just gravel.
Does that address your concerns, Mr. Rice?
I think now that he brought it, because like I say, I don't have a total map of that whole Bose Landing. I don't think an aerial view anyway. I'm looking at I'm concerned with let him, my opinion, if he improves the road so it's passable for safety equipment, etc., fire, ambulance, in front of his property, I think the remaining of the people, my put is that it's their problem. If he improves the road in front of his property, that's all he can do. He can't go on somebody else's property and make it wider or do anything. But from a town road, Mr. Tewksbury, is that from a town road, how is that road from the town road going to your property? Is that passable? Huh?
Yeah, I've just built there. I've got every truck down there, no problem. I've had cement trucks. I've had everybody in and out of there. There's no problem.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the application with the asterisk that the applicant improves the road to the degree that emergency vehicles, etc., can have access.
And Mr. Wirch has moved to approve application 20-17 with the condition that the applicant improves the road to allow emergency vehicle, etc., access.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Wirch, seconded by Mr. Rice. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I just have a question.
Ms. Langlois.
If I make sure that on that writing, it just says up to his property, because it makes it sound like he's going to take care of all the way to the end. and then they'll be expecting him to put a new road in. I know Mr. Rice said after his, but it doesn't specifically say. If he wants to help them out and he has room to do that, then that's a great neighbor, but I think the wording has to be very specific so that he doesn't have to do the whole road.
I thought I mentioned to his property.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you-
So I
Yes.
think Charlene's point is she wants to make sure that the motion reflects that language.
Okay.
Mr. Wurge, are you comfortable with that language being reflected in your motion?
Sure.
And Mr. Rice, do you second it? So
Yes.
amended?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion as made and amended is to approve application 20-17, sorry, 20-17, with the condition that the applicant improve the road up to his property line, up to his properties to allow emergency vehicle access and vehicles of the sort.
Can I interrupt you here, Joe?
Yeah.
Are you going to handle the frontage separately from this motion? My question on the frontage?
Great question. So the motion as it stands would be to accept the application. Cindy's question regarding the frontage is outstanding. What is the commission's?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I would think that when he submits an application for that, then Cindy would have to disapprove it and send it to ZBA, right?
Well,
Right.
the reason why I asked the question is because, and as I stated in my comments, is that ordinance a carte blanche to go ahead on that piece of property, how he has done his setbacks. Does anybody know that has worked with this ordinance before?
Well, I thought this whole thing was based on it, that he met the requirements of the planning and zoning regulations.
No, I had said that in my memo, that he was
Well,
only
then-
17 and a half feet
I-
from the front.
I did not note that in the amendment. Oh, about the setback?
Right, the front setback, yes.
Well, yeah, you,
That ordinance, if I may,
as you note, he has to go to ZBA, right?
No, that was my question.
That was
Is this a carte blanche, that ordinance? Because it is on an unaccepted street, road, whatever. Does that give you carte blanche to say, yes, go ahead and just do it as the plans show?
My motion was based on the fact that he met all the zoning requirements. If he doesn't meet all the zoning requirements, then that's a whole other story.
Then he has to go to, so you're saying that he has to go to the ZBA?
Absolutely.
Okay.
if I may, Mr. Chairman, article in the ordinance says, the planning commission has the authority to issue a written permission for the issuance of a such building permit. So we're addressing the building permit.
Right, right.
So we're gonna give him, at least I hope the motion is to authorize him to apply for a building permit. on
Well,
a-
he actually already has. I haven't
unimproved
signed
road.
off on it.
All the other stuff is something else that has to be addressed.
Okay,
But not
Right.
by this ordinance.
okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Now you know.
Thank you.
Are there any questions on that? Okay, any further discussion on the motion?
Yes,
Mr. Hill?
I would like to ask Mr. Tewksbury a question.
Yep.
If you go to ZBA, if that's where it ends up, you have to have a legal hardship. Can't be financial and it cannot be personal. Do you think you could have a legal hardship other than our ordinance?
I don't understand.
May I address the commission?
Can I,
This is Bruce Woodis
Oh.
with KWP Associates. We
Yes, for
prepared,
the applicant.
yes, for the applicant.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Sorry to join late. Yeah, indeed, there would be a hardship because the lots that Mr. Tewksbury owned were mapped and created prior to zoning regulations being affected in the town of Thompson.
Okay,
And so, there's the hardship right there.
that sounds
Mr. Chairman,
reasonable.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that's in our purview to decide that one way or the other. I think we're addressing what he's asking for, is a
Right.
building permit. Let's let ZBA do what they do.
Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Thank you, Mr. Woodis. Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, the motion is to approve application 20-17 with the condition that the applicant improve the road to his property suitable for emergency vehicles. Yes to approve, no to deny. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Alvin Hill, yes. Mr. Lanky.
John B. Lanky, yes.
John B. Lanky, yes. Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, yes.
Brian Santos, yes. Ms. DeRogers.
Missy DeRogers, yes.
Missy DeRogers, yes. Mr. Rice.
John Rice, yes.
John Rice, yes. Ms. Chattel.
Christine Chattel, yes.
Christine Chattel, yes. Ms. Langlois.
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Charlene Langlois, yes. Mr. Werge.
Yes.
Mr. Werge, yes. Mr. Blackmer.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Randy Blackmer, yes. Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Thank you, Mr. Tewksbury. Thank you, Mr. Woodis.
Thank you.
Planning and Zoning Commission 20-19. Applicant David Coleman, owner for property at 0 Hagstrom Road, map 19, block 85, lot 6A, zone R80, gravel permit operation renewal.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll make a motion to approve Planning and Zoning Commission number 20-19 application, applicant David Coleman for gravel permit renewal and to waive the renewal fee with conditions that were placed on the 2019-2020 renewal.
Mr. Rice,
I'll second that motion.
I think I got Mr. Santos just in before Mr. Hill. Mr. Rice moves to approve application 20-19 with a waiver of the renewal fee and the conditions placed on the renewal in 2019. Mr. Rice makes that motion. Mr. Santos seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, it's a yes to approve with a waiver of the fee and the conditions of last year. No to deny. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Mr. Hill, yes. Mr. Lanky.
John B. Lanky, yes.
Mr. Lanky, yes. Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, yes.
Mr. Santos, yes. Mr. Rogers.
Missy DeRogers, yes.
Mr. Rogers, yes. Mr. Rice.
John Rice, yes.
Mr. Rice, yes. Ms. Chattel.
Chattel, yes.
Ms. Chattel, yes. Ms. Langlois.
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Ms. Langlois, yes. Mr. Werge.
Robert Word, yes.
Mr. Werge, yes. Mr. Blackmer.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Mr. Blackmer, yes. And Joseph Brody Brown, yes. Okay, Town of Thompson revised regulations, review and possible action on the final copy of the revised draft of the planning and zoning regulations.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Randy, are you on the computer, Randy? Are you still on my phone?
Yeah, I made it. I'm on the computer. Thank you.
Okay, I was wondering because I'm,
You can hang
all
up
right,
now.
let me shut off my phone here. Thanks. I don't want to be like, I'm not going to mention her name that her battery dies out every, but anyway. Hi, Cheryl, Charlie.
Okay, so the final draft shared with us last week of the regulations.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Mr. Rice,
I'd like to make a motion to table this vote, okay, until such time that we can arrange to meet in person and to have more public participation. In that, the reasoning being, I tell you, I got my head chopped off a couple of times at the town hall. And I feel myself personally, is that the public has not had their input. Why? One reason, probably people are signing in on a Zoom. Don't know how to do that, the public. No fault of ours, but I don't think there's, to me personally, there's a rush to do this. I would like to have us convene and look at what started this is the branding committee was trying to revitalize the town mill, the mill complex along Main Street, etc. I think if we could concentrate on that area and then get into a town-wide revamp of these regs, but I don't know, we'll see how many people are in on this meeting tonight if they have under citizens comment, but that's my motion.
okay, Mr. Rice made a motion to table.
Yeah.
I'll second Mr. Rice's motion.
The motion has been made by Mr. Rice and seconded by Mr. Blackmer to table.
Oh,
Any
Mr. Blackmer, okay.
discussion on the motion?
Are we on discussion now?
Yes, Mr. Werge.
All right, I've been feeling all along, I'll give you my feelings and how I see it and how I feel about it. First off, I, as a member of this board, never voted for NECOG to redo our regulations. Never. I voted for the corridor. I wanted to see the corridor developed, the business corridor, the mill, etc. So saying that, if we're going to even think about a big change in the regulations that affect this whole town, from taxes to lot size to rules, I think that we have to wait until we can get a really real public input. Half of the people in this town, including this guy sitting right here speaking, have no idea how to Zoom, doom, and boom all this stuff. So we're not getting an input from the town. I think this is too big to move on. There's no rush. What's the rush? We're gonna hurry? Is the sky gonna fall? No. I think we should wait until we get a real public hearing. Thank you.
Mr.
No.
Chairman, could I speak? This is Amy St. Ange.
Selectman St. Ange.
So Amy St. Ange, First Selectman, speaking as First Selectman. One of the emails that recently came from Tira, she had admitted that this wasn't her wheelhouse. And I'll frankly admit that it's not my wheelhouse whatsoever. I don't understand zoning regs. I don't know how they apply to building permits. I don't understand how they apply to assessments. So I've quietly sat back and just allowed the commission to do its work. But in the meantime, I have a question. Why was there no collaboration, since it's been pointed out that there's been great collaboration? There was no collaboration with two of the departments inside the town hall, like direct collaboration with the two departments that work with zoning regulations on a day-to-day basis. And the two people that we currently have sitting in the assessor's department are our new assessor and Donna Hall, who has been with the town hall for 30 years. They have a combined experience of 50 years working with regulations. And since the final draft has come out, both of these individuals have come forward with some issues and some concerns. Which brings me here tonight to agree with John Rice that we need more of the public involved. We need more of these two departments involved with writing these regs. Mr. Chairman, you had said in a recent email, I think it was yesterday or this morning, I received it, that Our singular goal throughout this proposal period has been to create zoning regulations that will keep Thompson a vibrant community. We're rewriting Thompson. We are redefining and changing the landscape of Thompson with these new regulations. And I would absolutely side with Mr. Rice that we need to step back and make sure that this ladder that we're building, this ladder is leaning up against the right house, because 10 years from now, we don't want to be paying the price. I don't know if we're changing and eliminating R80 to create more affordable housing, but like our assessor pointed out, the average home size is 1,550 square feet. We currently have 2,173 homes smaller than the average size, and therefore smaller than the average median price of a home. We have affordable housing. The character of Thompson is its rural character. It is 2-acre parcels. That's what people move here for. They move here for the quiet. They move here to get out of the city, and I don't understand why we're reducing the lot sizes. And it's taken me some time to digest all of this and understand it. And you know what? That's what it takes for the public. The public has elected all of you to work for their best interest, because they also, like me, don't understand some of this stuff. And that's all I really want to point out, that I do agree with Mr. Rice. I think we need more public input, and we definitely need more input from the two departments that are directly affected every single day by these regulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlene Langlois.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't, go ahead, Charlene.
Ms. Langlois.
Hi, Charlene Langlois. I guess I feel like we have been railroad, if you want to call it that. I'll try to use words that'll look nice when you print them out on your notes. We've been doing this for a while. Let's just play house and say 10 months, because that seems to be the number that people feel comfortable with. I wish it was 10 months, and I wish I got paid for every meeting that I've been sitting through to rewrite these regs. When branding did come to the town of Thompson, and we first talked about it, yes, it was that corridor. Unfortunately, opening up the regs that we've had in our hands that I feel, that have not let Thompson grow anywhere. When we looked at the regs, they were so far outdated that nothing could happen in the town of Thompson. So just doing that corridor, yes, it would help the mill come in and develop, but then we would be just doing that section only to have to go back and spend more hours working, trying to get the next step done. So while NECOG did a full rewrite, and then when we were looking at it, it kind of like he was trying to make it fit other towns, because I'm like anyone else, not sure of regulations or zones or whatever. He was looking at other towns in our area that had changed their regs and have grown into wonderful places that people come and visit, but they don't live. And so while we have invited people to come, whether it be on their free time or their paid time, I can't imagine people sitting in that town hall and not being stirred about this, and come down from their office and go and find out what was happening in the past 10 months, that they wait until the last hour that they're paid and that we're not, and now they're feeling like now they have to speak up because they had a chance to read or whatever. I'm not really sure. I mean, I read in the bathroom, I read in my car, I read at the cafe, I read wherever I can. I read tons of emails of people that send an email after email after email. So I guess I'm just frustrated thinking that we had the town come in. Sorry about COVID, but this could be the way of life. So Zoom might be it, and you're going to have to learn how to Zoom it, boom it, do whatever you need to do. But even when we had meetings in general, maybe 100 people would come, but that doesn't represent the 9,000 people that live in Thompson. So I just feel like stalling it, or whatever people feel like they need to call it, it's just stopping Thompson from going anywhere. And I feel like there's people that want it to move forward, and maybe they can't get on Zoom and say that, but I just feel that we shouldn't be holding this back any longer. You could email, you could call, you could Zoom, you could write a letter, you could go to the town, you could do whatever you needed to do, and people just saved it for the last minute. So I don't know, that's just my personal opinion, but I would say that if the two places that felt like they were left out, then where were they in 10 months? Like what happened? Did we miss an email or one or two, or what's happening with that? But that's my frustration, and good luck.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Ms. Pangasic?
I'm sorry, who are you calling on, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead, Tara.
Yeah, I'll just say my bit, and I'm gonna bow out of the rest of this debate because this is the time for the commission. So I want to respond a little bit to Amy. I believe she inadvertently mischaracterized a statement I made about whether I was in my wheelhouse or not. That was specifically in relation to what I was discussing about the assessor and his response. So that was a very specific item. In terms of the public ability to comment and the transparency of the process, I will point out once again, as I did in my response to Donna Hall, that the commission has gone above and beyond any and all statutory requirements in terms of publication, in terms of inviting input, in terms of inviting people whom we knew to be adversarial towards the process. The series of public discussion meetings that we held were publicized not only on our own website and Facebook page. We cross-posted on Winnie, which has good listenership. They have a very active Facebook page. The Town of Thompson Transparency Group, which is generally an email, a Facebook group I would prefer not to associate with, I know did cross-post as well, and they have a very active and activist base. So I find the idea that this has not been open to a public process incorrect, in error, and at its worst, in some instances, disingenuous. In terms of the changes to zoning minimum lot sizes, that was debated and discussed at great length by the commission. It was not a unanimous choice to remove the 2-acre minimum requirement, but it was a majority choice. In terms of people relocating here for the rural character, we are certainly sympathetic to that. I wouldn't disagree with that. There is no requirement that you must have a lot smaller than 2 acres. It's merely saying that you don't have to. I won't speak directly to anything for the assessor because I know he doesn't like to be dragged into this. I can see he's here, and I'll let him speak for himself. The implication of moving into a community that requires you to have a larger lot size is one of being unable to fund your infrastructure mandates. That gets worse over time as you do not have an ability to build smaller lot sizes. That's a much more complicated conversation that I would want to get into in this forum, but certainly I'm happy to have that discussion with anybody who comes into my office, and that would include the first selectman, that would include Donna Hall, that would include the assessor. In terms of those offices not being brought into the process, I have in fact acknowledged that at the early phases when I took over the process, it was an oversight that continued under me, and I've apologized for that. Provided the drafts immediately to the assessor who was in place at that time and to Donna Hall and invited their comment. I did receive a written letter from Diana Couture shortly before she left the position, I believe, and received nothing from Donna Hall until after we had closed the public hearing process. We did, in fact, have a meeting. Cindy, Charlene, Missy, Donna Hall, and I specifically to discuss some of the administrative processes in the draft, which I felt it was critical based on some comments made by Cindy that we have that input so we could align those processes. Once Paul Hopkins came on, I've actually been very involved going up there and asking him about some of the implications. As I said, that is the place where I'm out of my wheelhouse, so I won't attempt to explain things on his behalf, but I was comfortable with his explanations to me that there were not harmful effects in terms of the assessments. So that is my bit. I'm happy to answer any questions, of course, as the commission continues their deliberation on this topic. I'm sorry, I will make one other point. At this point, there are people holding applications to do things in the town of Thompson because we have been very publicly discussing the adoption of a new book of regulations. So there are ramifications at this point to not proceeding, but that was my actual last bit. Thanks, guys.
Wirch,
Mr. Wirch?
I really want to thank Tara for all the work she's done and all the work everyone has done in the past 10 months. But I want to point out, and Charlene, I love you dearly. You're my neighbor. I know you since you were a kid. But 10 months is not a lot of time to work on regs. There are members that are here, and there are members that are not here, that we spent almost 2 years revising the present regulations. I believe it's close to 2 years. This is something that we can't do quick wham bam. It's just not right not to have total public input. I agree that there are things that we can do to make our town more business friendly, no question. And I think it lies in the corridor, not in changing the whole town. 2 years we spent, and we didn't even finish, if I recall. We were about to finish when this whole new branding committee and let's change it and let's whatever. But that's how I feel. Thank you for your time.
If I may just respond to Bob, just on the time frame, and then I really will bow out. I'm sorry, I keep coming back in. Just to clarify, Bob, I was on the commission when this process started with the NECOG draft. That was in 2017. So we are actually 2.5 to 3 years in. That's my only statement on that.
Good.
Mr. Santos and then Mr. Rogers.
I will say I'm kind of taken back a little bit by some of the comments tonight. Speaking for myself, I know I feel like I was attending a special meeting every other week, reading and rereading rewrites and things of that nature. And all of those things were discussed, voted upon, and approved for the best interest of the town. I want to make sure that's highlighted. That it's not like we're acting in a negative manner here. We're doing things for the best interest of the town. I have a hard time believing that Zoom has anything to do with people reading or not reading the emails in the PDF versions that were sent out to the public. There was a lot of outreach to the public over a very long period of time, and that is a fact. Now, I do have a sensitive spot for our local officials in the town to make sure that they have their right to say, their time to say things. So I will always support the town team. So if they need more time, then I'm willing to listen to that, in my opinion. But I am a person that believes in deadlines, and I did not hear of any deadlines tonight. Things can just kind of roll along forever, without having deadlines. So I feel like we should at least talk about that, because if we're going to wait to be in person, that could be a very long time from now. So thank you.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, so I'm curious to know, because I've been in on quite a bit of these meetings. I have missed a couple, of course. We all have had to step out now and again. What would be the time frame that would make everybody more comfortable? Because I think that, I know Mr. Wurge, Mr. Rice, Randy Blackmer, he didn't speak, so I can't even say that. But I mean, my point is, and John and Alvin, these people have been here for a really long time. I don't want to dismiss some of their concerns, but I don't want to go back again and start doing this whole thing all over again. So what would be the time frame that would, you know, what has to happen? I think that our old regs did contradict themselves. I remember being in meetings where we had some engineers would come in and say, well, this part says this and this part says that. So I think that Tara and the whole team has done a wonderful job trying to make it read and flow a lot better and get one definition to match another definition. And if I looked it up on this page, I could go over here and it would be the same thing. I think that's what our goal was to do, to make this read well and more understandable, because even for myself, and I've only been on this commission for 2 or 3 years now, they were hard to understand. It was hard to follow through for me. And then, like I said, with the people that are here speaking, what's necessary, what areas, because I'm sure there's quite a bit of this that is fine. So what specific areas do we need to pay attention to? And I agree with Brian, there needs to be a time frame. I don't mind going a little further, but what is that going to be? And then everybody's going to make the effort to either read it or show up or do something, because you can't not be present and then come in later and go, hey, what's just going on? Because it's hurtful, you know, not hurtful, but we have all put our time in. So, and I know everybody's busy. I'm not saying they're not, but yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Rice?
On the thing, you know, Tara gave me a final plan of the zoning regs a couple of weeks ago. I asked for it, probably been a week and a half or so. And then that was supposed to have been the final plan, okay? Last Friday, she gave me another copy of the final plan. I have yet to see a map, a hard copy map of all these zoning changes. And to that, to the question about, I wonder why, when we had a public hearing, that there was only a couple of people that participated. I'm not sure people in town go on Winnie's Facebook. I know I don't. How many other people? It's just that if the information was out there for people to read and participate, I can't understand the public hearing that we had. What was there, 4 people that participated? You know, I can't understand that. I would like to see, you know, the assessor. I had asked Tara a couple of times the information about the assessor, and it was indicated that he's fine. It's just a matter of a program change. I would have liked to have at one of our meetings, hopefully it would have been a sit down where we could have the assessor on and ask him questions about how it affects it. Well, I must have missed that.
Right, I'm going to interrupt you right there. He was at a meeting and we asked him questions.
Okay, I must have missed that meeting then. But there, there again, that final draft that Tara gave me Friday, I went through it again. Again, we paid $750 for somebody to look at this draft, supposedly a final draft, and yet the numbering systems on page 65, 66 go from an A, a 1 to a numerical ... That hasn't been corrected. Okay, there's several areas in there that this individual that we paid to correct that hasn't been corrected. I have, you know, quite a few. Well, I don't want to go through it now, but there's a lot of things that I picked up. Item 1 on amendments, it says the town staff would check with the town staff in sending in an application. Well, who's the town staff? Do they send it to the town clerk or who? That's not in the definitions. My suggestion would have been send it to the CEO like all the other things. We got to get back to where we were as a planning and zoning commission as the CEO. Everything goes through the CEO.
I'm gonna, Ms.
Can I say
Mallard?
something?
Mhm.
So I think what is happening is if it's kind of like phone call. I say something, then I tell Brian, and then Brian says something and he tells Missy, and then Missy says it and she tells Mr. Rice. You only can have a final draft without people making changes every time we get a final draft. So the map is at the town hall, blown up on the wall. You're more than welcome to go and look at it. I read that in 3 emails that I received very quickly. It's hard to see it on a computer because you can't blow it up. So I think Tara had said it was hanging outside of her office. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so there's a map there.
And I can print out additional copies. I did not have to go to NECOG for that. We can do them in-house.
That was via an email that copy was hanging on your wall?
Yep.
It was.
Internet went down.
That would be correct.
So I feel like it's just, it'll just be one, I mean, I get that there's things, but I don't know. I personally, the 10 months I was being sarcastic because I know I've been doing it for 3 years, but they'll say that we really haven't been doing it for 3 years. So I was kind of appeasing them to say that we've only had it for 10 months, but I don't really have another 3 years in me, and I'm not so sure the people that are trying to move in or do things in the town of Thompson will feel that way either. And I know that I've sat in meetings and we lost a nursing home because we couldn't even figure out what our parking lot agreement was, and he just moved and went into Putnam. So we can, you know, when we started doing the regs, it was change the capital T to a small t, put a period. There was no real movement. And so I think the older people that are on the committee are freaking out because it's changing, but times of changing since 1972. And the regs do seem pretty drastic, but if all the attorneys that were on there, we did get compliments from Janet Blanchett, from the other attorneys, Madeline Smith, saying they appreciated the time spent. It looked like we spent a lot of time in there. They're pretty comparable to other towns. They didn't come in saying, oh, yeah, you better watch out. That's a doozy. We've sent it to our town attorney. They've looked at it. So I don't know, like, a deadline. We had a deadline. It was December, then it was January, then it was COVID, then it was June, then it was July, then it was August, then September 15th. So I don't know what a deadline means, but could somebody put that in the definition? Because I need a definition of a deadline or one that we complete. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, is that I received 2 final copies within the last 2 weeks, okay? And it's supposed to have been changed. How many people on a commission read the total of 143 pages of the last and final version? Okay, in that, on all this Article 7 of definitions, all these pages are not numbered. It goes from 97 until 114. What do we pay $750 to this person for?
I'm sorry, John, what do you mean they're not numbered?
They're not. I don't see a number.
Like a page number?
Yeah.
My copy has numbers.
Well, the
My
last
copy
one,
has numbers.
well, the one that I got, what's your version? What's the latest revised version?
I know why your copy doesn't have page numbers, John, because in that last email that was a response to Donna Hall when she asked to align the definitions to the text of the ordinances, I emailed a complete copy to everyone that included those amended definitions, those 2 amended definitions, but I had already printed out hard copies for you and Randy, so I printed out just an excerpt of the definitions to swap out. But the actual final copy does in fact have page numbers, is on the website. The only reason the copy that you and Randy Blackmer have does not have page numbers only in the definitions is because I did a swap out in the hard copy that you requested from me.
So if I
Hey,
may,
how do we address, Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
I got
Wright.
another email from our lawyer, okay, about the sand and gravel, that 9 cent that was approved, right? That 9 cents a cubic yard. And in that email, the way I read it, he says it's fine, just as long as you can justify the cost. Are we ready to justify the cost of administering that 9 cents a cubic yard?
So if I may, Mr. Rice's motion was to table discussion on this draft. I plan on voting no on that motion because as I've stated earlier today in an email, I believe that after several years of collaborative work, after weekly meetings that lasted 3 to 4 hours weekly, we have come to a draft that is a consensus of the collective experiences, ideas, beliefs, hopes we have for Thompson. It is not a document that any of us would have individually written, but it is the work of a commission and it is a consensus. I think there are some minor issues that, again, like formatting and some questions that I had hoped to discuss tonight. I don't think there's anything substantive that has not been addressed. We have not only discussed all of these items, we have discussed some of the more polemic issues multiple times. We have had the same conversations about many of these issues, and what we have come to is in this document now. In terms of allowing the public to share their opinion on this, we have offered many ways for them to do that that are not simply within the Zoom. We in fact held the public hearing open so that people could read the document and send an email, read the document and call Tira with questions, read the document and comment in whatever way. They could have sent a homing pigeon in the amount of time that we left the public hearing open. And I wonder too, we have had citizens, members of the public who have made some substantive contributions to this document. And we have rejected some of those contributions, for wrong or for right. So, I feel like there's a smoke screen up about more people are going to give us a better document. I don't believe that to be true. I am, as I said in that email this morning, I am very proud of this document. I am very proud of the work we have done. We have argued, we have discussed, we have thoughtfully considered, and we have come to this document. I think it is, for me, laughable to hear the question, what's the rush? I think if this is a rush, then I don't know what slow is. I think in terms of taking the opportunities to respond, John, you asked who read the 143 pages. I did. Missy said we're all busy, right? I am about to open school in the midst of an unprecedented time in education, okay? I am in the busiest time of my professional year. And I sat down and read 143 pages because this is a priority for me right now. And if it's not a priority for everyone, then I don't want the town of Thompson to be held up because it's not a priority for others. I am voting no on the motion to table because I think it is time to approve this document with some minor formatting changes.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think it was proper for you to discuss or say how you were voting. I don't know what your intention was there, but whether it was to sway somebody or not, I don't think that was proper. And to that response, that last email, that email from the lawyer saying that we have to back again to that 9 cents. I'm hoping that we can justify that 9 cents, 9 cents a cubic yard, because I had done some figures on just on New Road, okay, that the gravel permit, the total yardage in 1 year was 62,000 cubic yards, okay? And that at a cost of 9 cents would have been, we would have had an income of $5,600. That
Mr. Rice, Mr. Rice, are we discussing your motion to table? Or are we discussing the document?
On the discussion, I'm saying that you're saying that you read that and you approved. Did you read what the lawyer is suggesting in his latest email?
My hope
We
is
have
He said that you can't, and that was discussed, that we're trying to recoup or get money to pave the road and stuff of that nature. He said you can't do that. So how did we justify the 9 cents?
Inflation, John, inflation.
I think that's a discussion.
Inflation. Yeah, okay, we already discussed that. Go ahead.
I think we could spend the evening here. My bottom line is, in this new document, there are things that I like, and there are things that I don't like. But if you look at the old document, I don't know how many of the members have read the old regs. But if you could tell me in the old regs, what's wrong? What's wrong with those regs that have been in 45 years, since 1975? They've been updated. We've worked on them, and we've spent many hours updating them. And like I said before, 2 years in our recent update. But I would say right now, to me, I think that we should sit back, stand back, and incorporate some of those new things. There are some, I really think there's some valid ideas. Compressing everything and making it simple, those are good. But I don't think we should ditch the old regulations because of that. These regulations have been proven. They've survived legal challenges. They've survived mega alterations and discussions and all of that stuff. And I really think that there's no rush. Why do we have to rush and vote? And when you say, Joe and Tara and a couple of you, that we've had town input, that's not true. That's not true. You're making stuff up. We have not had a public hearing where the public participated. I personally don't know anything about zooming and dooming, and I wouldn't even be here if my wife didn't set it up. So how many people in this town do you think are like Bob Werge? They have no idea how to do all this stuff, how to get involved in all this stuff. But if you have a meeting down at the library next Monday to talk about the new regs, I bet you there'll be a lot more than 2 people show up. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hill.
can we move on Mr. Rice's motion, please?
So I'd like to speak first.
Mr. Blackmer?
You know, I agree that we put a lot of time in, and I have to admit that I missed a number of those meetings. 6 o'clock just doesn't fit for me. But I do think that the final has only been out for less than a week. And I think that we need to give people a little time to look at that. How long has the map been hanging on the wall down there? I didn't know that was there. Fortunately, I went down and I did get a 2x3 map, which is big enough so I can lay that out, but I would propose that we do postpone this for a month to give the public a chance to digest and see the final. And if they're concerned about seeing the map, have a chance to do that before we jump in both feet. I do think that Tara has put her heart into this and done a super job, but I think that we need to step back just a little bit and give the public an opportunity to see what's done. It's not, they haven't had an opportunity to look at the whole thing. I sat down, I was going to read that this weekend. Well, that didn't happen. I got halfway through. Personally, I'd like to read the rest of it before I vote for it. The final I'm talking about.
Okay. Mr. Hill has moved to close discussion. No further discussion. Mr. Rice's motion, seconded by Mr. Blackmer, is to table. You didn't set a date, John, right? You just said to table?
Sorry?
You didn't set a date to table it for, right? You just said to table?
No, like I say, I think what Randy has said, I think I think I'd like to give the opportunity for the public to weigh in on the final copy. Like I mentioned, I received 2 copies already, but and I want to just piggyback on what Randy said. Tara has done an outstanding job of compiling this. I mean, I pick on nitty-picky, but that's the way I am. I look at every line. If it refers to an article somewhere else, I look at that, how it's affecting that one thing. But I don't know if it's timetable. Again, I would like to concentrate on what we originally started with the branding committee. And if it's necessary with Tara, I don't know, is to get that mill, help out that guy in the mill and get going if there's any regulations that we need for that. But
okay, so Mr. Rice's motion is to table. It was seconded by Mr. Blackmer. A yes vote tables the discussion of the regulations. A no keeps it going. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, no.
Mr. Hill votes no. Mr. Lenke.
John B. Lenke. No.
Mr. Lenke votes no. Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, no.
Mr. Santos votes no. Mr. Rogers.
Hold on, I was muted. I'm gonna vote yes. I want to read these regulations for this last time.
Mr. Rogers votes yes. Mr. Rice.
on Rice, yes.
Mr. Rice votes yes. Ms. Langlois.
Charlene Langlois, no.
Ms. Langlois votes no. Mr. Werge.
Yes.
Mr. Werge votes yes. Mr. Blackmer.
Yes.
Mr. Blackmer votes yes. Joseph Rody Brown votes no. The motion is defeated.
Okay.
Okay. So
Chairman?
to that end,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Gloria.
I just received a call from Cindy Dunn. She's having problems with connecting by phone, and she just wanted to let you know because she's scheduled to speak later.
Okay, thank you. We will keep that. But have her keep us updated.
Okay.
Okay, so there were some, as I mentioned, there were some items that I did want to, again, not substantive issues, but some areas I wanted to point out. Some of the things John was talking about, just some of those, when we, for example, when we inserted the groundwater protection, section, that changed some of the numbering and not all of the text lined up. So there are some very things like that that I did want to address and make sure that we rectify before moving forward with these. So if you'll bear with me, I did have some notes that I wanted to discuss.
Okay, Joe, I do have the draft open on my screen, so and that's PDF, so I can zoom to page numbers as you call them out.
Great, excellent. So the page 6 is the first one.
Yep.
Article 2, Section 3, Application of Regulations. Section A. And this could just be something I'm misunderstanding, but so the first sentence in Section A, no building, structure, premises, or land shall be used or occupied, and no building or other structure or part thereof shall be erected, moved, placed, reconstructed, extended, enlarged, altered, or demolished, period.
Mm-hmm.
Is that missing like, is there a, should it say like, unless, except in accordance with these regulations, or?
Good catch.
Right, because otherwise there's no building in the town of Thompson. Right.
What page is that on, Joe?
That was page 6.
That's in the final, right?
Yes.
Yep. I have a feeling that something inadvertently got deleted when that got carried over, because that definitely said the other previously, but I got it.
Okay. I'm gonna, there's a super nitpicky thing that recurred in the draft. So the first occurrence is on page 18.
Yep.
And it's in that last little bit, Article 3B, Section 2, where it says Article 3A.
Yeah.
Got comma in between the 3 and the A. Right, Article 3A should just be one thing.
Yeah, 3A, yeah.
And
delete comma.
Yeah, and it happens a couple of times, and it only happens with Article 3. Like, it doesn't happen with 4A and 4B, only with Article 3.
You want to delete?
Got it.
On page 27, I found a slight typo.
27, did you say?
I did, 27.
Go ahead.
In the interior lots, the third line, the last word, access.
I'm sorry, where are you?
So page 27.
Oh, yeah, I see it. No, I see it. Right of access. Missing a C.
Okay, page 33.
Yep.
In the frontage and setback requirements, the special needs access, that should be a or a superscript 2.
Oh, I see. Yep.
And then you have 1, 2, and 3, but you can delete 3 because 2 and 3 are just the same underneath.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, page 35.
Yep.
In the table, number 12, retail stores.
I see it.
Yeah. Good news though, in the appendix, it's there. Page 38. On the table, section number 8. Just a couple extra.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
$57.
5-7, Joe?
57, yep, 57. Oh, I'm sorry, Tira, Cindy's back, ready to go. Could you let her in?
Oh, yeah, thanks. It's-
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Bob Wirtz. I'd like to leave the meeting at this point.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Wirtz.
Yep. Good night, all.
Good night, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Good night, Bob.
Night, Bob.
Uh,
This is Cindy. I'm back in.
Great, thank you, Cindy.
What did I miss? Want to go over what I missed? Ha ha. And for you people who think
No,
this,
Cindy, no, we do not.
and for you people who think this Zoom is the latest thing, good thing, this is an abomination of meetings. I'm going to tell you right now what I've been through for the last 15 minutes. Okay, I had my say.
Are you on 57, Tira?
I am.
In Neighborhood Limited Enterprises, Section 1, in the third line of that paragraph, rural business didn't get the...
Oh.
What? I missed that.
Never more shall we speak the term.
So yeah, remember Neighborhood Limited Enterprises were once called rural businesses, and there was one rural business that sneaked through. So we just need to change that to NLE.
So it shall be done. So it shall be written.
And the teacher is spoken.
Yeah, lots of great in today. Page 64. The next few are going to be similar. It's just like I said, when groundwater got popped in, some of these references didn't get the treatment. So at the bottom of page 64, where it says Article 5A, Section 4, that should be section.
Yep. So page 64. So what should the actual, since I don't have it in front of me in the way you do?
Section 4 should become Section 5.
5A section. Okay.
And then on page 65,
yep.
It's that Article 3A again. It's in 1 General Guidelines D. It's bolded there in the middle.
Yep. So delete comma.
Yeah, and then Article 3A, Section 7 should read Section 6. I believe.
Okay, got it.
Then on page 66, we've got those 3 A's in the middle of the page.
3 A's in the middle of the page.
It's again Article 3A, Section 4, and Article 3A.
Oh. So I thought you were saying 3 letter A's. Okay.
Sorry.
3A, delete, comma. Got it.
And then coming down on the same page, that lowercase Roman numeral 5, Article 5A, Section 5.
5A, Section 5.
And then just underneath that, Article 3C.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Lenke.
When you go back, you said on B, General Guidelines B, on the previous one, you said Section 3, comma, eliminate 4. How about Section 7? Is that still 6 or is that 7 right there?
You're right, John. I think that should be 6 as well.
So which one are we going back to?
So on page 66 still, where it says Article 3A, Section 4, and Article 3A, Section 7.
Yeah.
Let me double check.
Because the previous page 65 was the same thing.
Yeah, that should be Section 6 instead of Section 7. Because there is no Article 3A, Section 7.
Got it.
Okay. On page 67,
Mm-hmm.
in both of the areas where it says Article 5A, Section E,
Mm-hmm.
those should both say Article 5A, Section 5E, and Article 5A, Section 5E, too.
Five A, Section 5E and Section 5E2. Got it?
Okay, page 73. In the middle of the page there, Article 5A, Section 6E.
Six E.
Yeah.
Okay.
On page 74, in item 11, Article 5A, Section 6B.
And now it's got the apostrophe, the
comma.
Comma after both of them, right?
Yeah, but it was the comma between like 5 and A. It would be Article 5, comma A. The other ones I don't mind as much. It's Article 5A is one thing, not a. I don't mind the commas between the sections, and I think those are fairly consistent.
Thank you, teacher.
On page 76.
Yep, I'm with you.
There are 4 references to Article 5A, Section 6. All of those need to be 7.
Got it.
Page 90.
I'm with you.
B2, number of spaces. It references Article 5B, Section 6. That should be Article 5B, Section 5.
Got it.
And that is what I have.
That was it?
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
I have one if I can. Joe.
Mr. Santos.
Just on the map, I was just looking at the map. Maybe this is nitpicking. You list the zone codes, downtown mill, rehabilitation, corridor development. Does it make sense to have in the actual write-up, we have zoning districts and you list out an acronym?
You want to add the acronyms?
Yeah, I'd like to add acronyms just so there's a quick cross-reference to each one, because like you list residential and agricultural, but the real word is rural, residential, and agricultural. And just, it just makes it, you have to like do a double take to make sure that you're looking at the right thing. So I think if you just add the acronyms, I think would be okay.
Yeah, I'll have Jim make those changes. He's been really good about turning these last couple iterations around quickly.
I just looked at the map. That was the only thing I looked at.
Apparently we keep
I have a
losing and
question.
regaining Cindy. Hi, Charlene.
Langlois.
Hi, I just have a question. With that 9-cent thing that Mr. Rice was concerned about, then they sent something over to Rich Benoit, and then another comment was made. So with that, we're not charging what we already came to that conclusion. How do you spend the money? Do we if we can't use it for roads, then we have to use it, you know, to have, like with inflation is what Mr. Hill keeps saying, is like, how do you get rid of that money? Does it go into the town, the general fund, and then they decide what happens with that money that we've gained in? Because when 363 was there, they were under the understanding that their road was getting wrecked and they want money to fix it. But that's not really what that money goes to, according to Rich and the attorney. The trucks pay their own tax, road tax, fuel tax, and that's supposed to go to the roads, correct? So that money goes to the town fixes the roads, and that's how the town gets the money to fix the roads. So with us going to the 9 cents, Alvin, maybe you can help me. What do we do with the money that we're like getting because we went up because of inflation? What do other towns do with their money?
I think it goes right into the general fund.
And then through the general fund, is that when the commissions go to the Board of Finance and say, our ZEO needs more hours to do her job, and we can use that money to pay the ZEO?
I would hope so. I would hope so, yes.
And that would help.
Based on Rich Roberts' response to me, that actually is something that you could justify because that is related to the administrative costs of what the ZEO does for special permits, gravel operations, inspections. So that was something that would satisfy the point that John Rice made last week. So Rich did agree that it cannot be stated that the upcharge is intended for road repair. He did confirm that, but also confirmed that, first of all, if it was 9 cents and it's been 9 cents for all this time, it seems to him quite reasonable to adjust for inflation, as Alvin suggests. But if justifying it specifically as in terms of what that was to fund, if that comes up, then it must be justified along administrative purposes.
Okay, that's how I understood it.
If I may, Mr. How do you incorporate the rate of inflation into administering the requirement to look at this application? As I mentioned before, just as an example, in that 0 new road, Cindy would have had to put in 273 hours at her current pay to administer that application. I'm just telling you, you better make sure you're gonna justify that cost. And inflation, I don't think, is one of them. Keep hopping on that.
Did we have the money to pay her for 273 hours? No, she had to do the best that she could with the little time that she had, getting stressed out about everything that she needed to do with an hour. So why couldn't we as a commission go forward and ask to give her more time so she's not stressed out without going over that mark, or there must be a magic number that she can't make over? Then we gotta take care of our ZEO and maybe give her insurance or something. But we want people to work for us. We just don't want to pay them anything. And I think that's time that we start giving. You have to, if we can get this money and it's okay, and we can say this is what it's used for, then shouldn't we be using it?
Yeah, but you can't. That's union negotiations as to, there's a certain amount of hours that a part-time person can work. If you go into that, then the person belongs to the union, and then it's all over again. You better talk to Amy about that, increasing the hours. You can't. The charge is supposed to be for her to administer that application, not all this other stuff that you're talking about. Okay, can I say something else on that, Charlene?
You may, Mr. Rice.
Mr. Perotti, seeing how we had all these updates or these corrections that you made, I guess my question is, what was that $750 that we expended supposed to do? Apparently they missed a lot of things.
Well, no,
he didn't miss quite a few other things.
So yeah, some of those are changes we made since since he returned the document to us, right? A lot of those section numbers were changes we made after we got the work from the editor back.
The commas and everything else that you were pointing out. Okay.
Those may have been too. And John, I think if we take a look at the draft we handed him to the draft he handed us back,
Okay. As long as you're satisfied with his work. But can I see how you question a couple of things? I don't know, because I don't have the latest final report. I have to go back to the one. I just have a question in one of the Article 2, Section 9, my first version of the final, under amendments. It says, upon receipt of a petition, you're petitioning to change to amendment. It says, may refer to materials to town staff. Who's the town staff? That's not.
What page number are you on, John?
Well, I got a couple of them. On my own one was page 8, but it's Article 2, Section 2 amendments. I don't know what.
Article 2, Section 9 amendments. Yeah, it is page 8, Tira. It's Section 9 amendments B.
B2.
At the bottom of page 8.
Shouldn't that be the CEO so we can identify? If I want to petition somebody, I go to town hall. Okay, who's town staff? It should be the CEO going to.
So John, I mean, so this is when we receive it, when the commission receives a petition, we may, we may want to refer it to not just the CEO. We may want to refer it to the Public Works Department, to the assessor, to X, Y, and Z.
Okay, all right. I'll buy that.
Yeah, that's exactly what that's meant to incorporate,
okay,
John.
All right.
Just so you all know, that the word staff, that's the only time that word comes up in the entire document, other than some other randomness about other businesses. But that's the only time that word comes up. Staff. What it's worth.
Thanks, Brian.
Control F. Any other questions, comments?
Can I ask a question? I was in the same boat as John Rice when I went away for a few days to Maryland. I did make a copy, but I made the wrong copy. And, but I didn't get a chance to read the whole, what I did bring anyway, because of personal reasons why I was away. But anyways, Terry, maybe you can answer this for me. Is the issue of a shed anywhere in the document? I did not get a chance to go through it today. That was one question I had when I was looking at what I had in my hand. Is the 200 square feet, you can do 5 feet, and then over 200 you have to abide by the district setbacks? Is that anywhere in the document?
Yeah, it's in all of the individual district dimensional requirements because it was no longer an exemption, so it was taken out of there.
Okay, so that's where we put it. Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that was covered. Okay.
Yep.
The second question, unless members have more questions, but because I've had technical difficulty here, my internet, et cetera, went out. Have you made any changes with the document that you are working with, that you're asking for approval on tonight?
Just typo changes and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Nothing
I haven't gone over my list yet either.
Well, okay, so go ahead, let Alvin go over his list then. Then I'll re-ask this question. I'll hold my question.
Go ahead, Mr. Hell.
Yes. On page 5, Article 1, Section 4, effective date, I was just curious, should we have a line that eventually, when we have an effective date and as amended? Should it not be in this document? Just a question.
That, Albert, I read that today, but you had that question. What is the purpose? Oh, as amended from the previous regulation. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
In other words, we
Okay.
want that somewhere in our document.
Okay, yeah, I understand now what the question is. Okay.
Oh, yeah, following the model of what you currently have, the effective date I would publish on the title page.
Yeah, okay. The next question I have was on page 16, Article 3A, Section 4. That's actually
3A.
on page 7, on page 15. Then as you turn over to page 16,
I see. So right at the top.
right at the top, and that would be number 9, computation of lot and building coverage. And my question was, what are we attempting to say? And then I'd say, look at number 4, we already have lot size has to be part of the document. And my question is, why not computation of buildings, plural in parentheses, and impermeable surfaces to lot size?
Okay.
Then again on page 16, number 12, utility pole, if present. I would suggest number 12, utility pole with apostrophe S in parentheses, and then in parentheses, if present, indicating both sides of the street or road. Sounds
okay.
pandemic, but you know, I want to make it clear. An engineer would know that. Then on page 16, still, number 6, that would be B, zoning permit with site plan review by commission, number 6.
Mm-hmm.
And location of existing well, etc. I would suggest location of existing septic system and well, and then in parentheses, if public, no reason to include. That would be my change. If public, no reason to include.
Okay, so you think that that is clearer than or water service and sewer tie-in locations as appropriate? Which is how it reads now?
Right. No, of course, I'm biased in my own opinion on that, so that's why I added that in that. All right. On page 17.
Alvin, if I can butt in on
Yeah.
while you're right there on 16. How about
Yep.
number 7? You were just at number 6. How about building and structural plans to scale? What are we going to do with that as a commission?
I think that's spelled out further in the document, is it not, Tyra?
Yeah, but what are we going to look at? Are we qualified to look at the structural plans? That's the scale? Isn't that something the building office does?
Well,
I think some of us are.
but you know, I brought into Tyra today, there is a Connecticut statute that towns, believe it or not, can adopt energy codes for commercial buildings. And I mean,
Okay, I just hadn't had that dotted.
that's
That's all.
a good question.
There you go.
Absolutely. Okay, where am I?
Guess we'll call on you, Joe, when those come in.
That's not what I was saying.
Ah. All right, page 17. Exemptions on page 17. That's Article 3A, Section 5. the following structure shall not require. And I suggest the following structures shall not require the issuance, striking out any. The following structures shall not require the issuance of a zoning permit.
Okay.
And then down where it says, the following shall say, fences, number 1, fences. It says fences that are less than or equal to 7 feet in height. And I'm trying to clarify it more so. I would add, number 1, fences, and in parentheses, see definition of fence that are less than or equal to. And the reason being, if you go to page 104, fence in the definitions, a freestanding structure intended for division no more than 7 feet tall on either side. I would suggest a standing structure intended for division and in parentheses, no more than 7 feet tall while maintaining maintenance space to owner's property line on either side. And then continuing, a fence or structure over 7 feet in height, crossing out the word must, and because that's, no, shall meet
Right, right,
building
right.
site setbacks.
Always shall never must.
And that was my last review on that.
Okay, I've got that.
I have one more.
Yeah, Mr. Santos.
I'm trying to find it, so stand by. Okay, page 29, rural residential agricultural district, which is a majority of the town.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that the residential, the frontage, is that right, or is that copy paste there 150 feet? Is that right?
That is what you all guys agreed to in the end, was not to reduce the frontage.
This seems like a lot. That's road frontage, correct? Not to ask a dumb question, I just want to make sure I'm clear.
No,
If you check our
that was
definition,
one.
Yeah, I know it says road frontage. I know if you go to the definition, I know we did that on the last meeting. That's why I'm bringing it up again, but
Yeah.
150 feet.
yeah, Brian.
That was a pretty animated discussion, and in the end, it was voted by the majority of the commissioners to retain the 150-foot frontage requirement.
Tira, I go farther and say it was an animated discussion each of the 3 times that we had it.
Yeah, I'm just, now it's the 4th time. I'm really sorry, Joe. All right, I just wanted to quadruple check that.
No, you are not imagining that. We left it that way on purpose in the end.
Yep.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments, ideas?
Okay, so I'll go back to the question I was going to, the concern that I was going to mention before Alvin. So because I've missed so much of your discussion, I guess the first question I will ask is, have you made any changes in what you have received, the final draft?
No substantive changes.
No what?
No substantial changes to the regulations have been made.
And what are you going to be doing with Alvin's suggestions?
Typos and formatting.
What are you going to be doing with Alvin's suggestions of adding the definitions? Didn't you recommend to add definitions, Alvin, for offense?
Well, that whole sheet that I had, and I hope everyone got it. My suggestions, I hope, would be part of the document. Yes.
Okay. So my belief, and I don't know if, and Tara and I had talked about this after the last meeting, is that if you're going to approve a document tonight, everything in that document has to be accurate, has to be what you want. So now you are putting in, whether it's formatting, you're putting in new things in the document. So I don't know if it's legal to vote on it, to do your 15-day legal notice, because you don't have the complete document, because there are going to be additions. And I don't know if you checked with Rich Roberts on that after we had our discussion last week, Tara, but
I think I got distracted by the 9-cent inflationary.
yeah.
I mean, I would suggest that it seems logical to me that the commission can choose to vote to approve with the edits agreed on this evening. I think that, you know, I can turn that into a public document in 5 minutes in the morning in my office.
But it's still not the document they have seen, because there will be changes in it. I'm just saying this to protect the town from any legal recourse, because you are not approving a document. You're approving a document, but you're going to go in tomorrow and you're going to make some adjustments to it, regardless of the adjustments. But it's my belief, and I'm not an attorney, that what they approved tonight is going to go into the 15-day appeal when you make the when you put the legal notice in that you approved it. So you're approving the document that you have in your hands tonight, but yet tomorrow there's going to be some changes in it.
Cindy, so here's my question: if we're approving it as amended, then it's the document as amended.
Right, as you see, as it's written.
No, as amended, as changed, as edited, right? With the following amendment.
Right. I
think you're right, Joe, because that's the only thing that makes sense. Because what happens when people get legal documents that have a typo that have to be changed? I mean,
but these aren't just
the world
typos.
can't come to a driving.
These aren't just typos you're changing. So I said it last week. I'm going to say it for the last time. Just make sure legally you know what.
But where does the public get a voice in the changes?
That too.
The public hearing is closed, John. The public hearing has been closed.
Okay,
They've
I'm sorry.
had their
Just one
opportunity.
minute, point of order. This is in the chat. It's Rich Roberts. You can vote on amendments and approve tonight as long as you are clear on what the specific amendments are.
What was that again, Joe?
What's that? You want me to read that again?
What did you say again?
This is from Rich Roberts. You can vote on amendments and approve tonight as long as you are clear on what the specific amendments are.
So did you vote on any of these things you just discussed? You just said put it in. Did you vote on them individually, or are you going to vote on them as a group? Okay, I said I'd be quiet. I'm going to shut myself off.
So given that, Joe, I mean, I would say the pagination errors and typos we don't have to worry about. So really, it's just
I would look at Alvin's
yeah. Memo. So if you want to pull Alvin's memo up to screen share, just vote on them one by one. That's what I would suggest. Oh, looks like Amy went out and came back in. Here we go.
Can do you have that handy, Tira?
Probably. The problem with me doing it is that it makes it harder for me to go and let people in the waiting room if they drop in and out. But I'm sure just bear with me. I know I sent it to you guys all today from Alvin. Doo-doo-doo. Talk amongst yourselves about something while I'm looking for this.
I am going to talk about something else. Alvin, are you on a porch? I've always been very fascinated by the room you meet with us from.
It's
Oh,
like,
I'm what I call the great room.
Oh,
Post
love
and bin.
love
Post and
that
bin.
wood behind you. It looks beautiful.
I sit in my truck. It's so wonderful to spend 4 hours here. I might be able to write it off as an office expense.
No one's fascinated.
You should look
about
into
where you're
that.
sitting, Shirley.
Oh,
Joe, I am not finding it easily, but I know I sent it out today.
Yeah, I
This
could send
Monday.
it to you.
Couldn't have-
I have it. Hold on one second.
You know what? I'm just gonna allow screen sharing so that you can pull it up, so
Yeah,
it
hold
doesn't
on.
have to be me.
Yeah, let me just find it.
So I just enabled that, Brian.
All right.
Thanks,
It's just because I'm checking my email, my work email from home. It's not as friendly.
All right, I got it here. Hold on one sec.
Oh, I just found it too. So either way.
Oh, okay, go for it.
All right. Sharing screen. Share screen and this one, I think. This is it, right, Alvin? Yes.
Correct.
You guys can all see that?
Yes.
I.
Okay, so
And they're numbered even. I love that.
Number one, we resolved it's going to be on the title page. Is that right, Alvin?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Number two, so change computation of lot and building coverage to computation of buildings and impermeable surfaces to lot size. Is there any objection to that amendment? Hearing no objection, that amendment is adopted. Page 16, number 12, utility pole, if present, changed to utility poles in parentheses, if present, indicating both sides of the street or road. Is there any objection to the adoption of that amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. Did we, Alvin,
Page 16.
Did you, I know Tira said, asked, does it make sense the way it's written now? Do we have a preference for the way that's written, for the change, or as it is written?
No, I would prefer it's a quicker read. In other words, as the engineer is going through, septic, wait a minute, oh, there it is. If public, no reason to include, instead of looking at the last sentence, the end of the sentence.
So is that different though? As we've got it now, water service and sewer tie-in locations as appropriate. Or as applicable. Okay, I see what's going on. Sorry. Yeah. So my apologies. I was confused in reading that one. So Alvin's suggestion is to change it to location of existing septic system and well, if public, no reason to include, and then to continue.
Yeah.
Is there any objection to that, the adoption of that amendment?
Nope.
Hearing no objection, the amendment is adopted. Go ahead and scroll down for us, please, Tira.
I'm trying to scroll. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Okay, so for page 17, Article 3A, exemptions, the following structures shall not require the issuance of a zoning permit instead of any permit. Is there any objection to the adoption of that amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. Fences, see definition of fence, that are less than or equal to. Any objections to the adoption of that amendment? Hearing no objection, the amendment is adopted. And then on page 104, changing the definition of fence to a freestanding structure intended for division, no more than 7 feet tall, while maintaining maintenance space to owner's property line on either side. A fence or structure over 7 feet in height shall meet building setbacks. Is there any objection to the adoption of that amendment to the definition of fence? Hearing none, the amendment is adopted. You can go ahead and stop sharing, Tira.
Yay. Okay,
any other? We lost Cindy again, so she might be trying to. Is that her?
No, I'm in on the phone.
Gotcha.
I'm in on the phone.
Gotcha.
I hear everybody.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
I guess one of my final things would be, we don't really have a cover page. The one that was on the book, Mr. Rice, and we were kind of feeling it was kind of plain. So I'm not sure if we can hold off until the town has a logo, and then maybe, I don't know, like I was suggesting a 3-ring binder for the commission so that we can pull pages in and out easy when there's changes, and we can put it in instead of the spiral. So I'm not sure what we'll give to the town people, but I'm not sure what you're thinking of for a cover sheet, Tara, like something nice, you know what I mean?
You want me to jazz it up, Charlene?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that on our copy versus final draft in that black square, that the town logo, which I believe the first selectman's office has that, could be photoshopped right in there very easily.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Mr. Chairman, Charlene, to your point, is that we briefly discussed that, and I believe it's my responsibility as secretary to get that book published. And if my intention was exactly that, to put it in a 3-ring binder, so whenever the town comes up with a logo, it'll be a matter of changing that front cover, that front page, that's it. But I can work that out once we get a logo with Chase Printing.
I think that's great. Thank you, Ms.
I already bought my 3-ring binder.
You're a model to the rest of us, Ms. Langlois.
Don't buy me one.
Okay, so thank you, Charlene and Alvin and John on that. Okay, with that, if there are no further comments,
Make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Santos.
I'll make a motion that we approve the new planning and zoning regulations as amended, with an adoption date of 9/15.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Santos has moved the adoption of the Town of Thompson zoning regulations as amended, with an adoption date and effective date of September 15th, 2020, seconded by Mr. Hill. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, it is a yes to approve, no to not approve. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Mr. Hill, yes. Mr. Lanky.
John B. Lanky, yes.
Mr. Lanky, yes. Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, yes.
Mr. Santos, yes. Mr. Rice.
John Rice, no.
Mr. Rice, no. Mr. Rogers.
Missy DeRogers, yes.
Mr. Rogers, yes. Ms. Langlois.
Charlene Langlois, yes.
Langlois, yes. Mr. Blackmer.
No.
Mr. Blackmer votes no. Joseph Brody Brown, yes. And we no longer seem to have Ms. Chattel or Mr. Wersch left. So the regulations are adopted. Next item.
I will have the amended copy first thing in the morning up on the website.
Wonderful, thank you. Item 6, applications received after agenda posted. Cindy, none?
No, there's none. I'm sorry, I lost the volume. I just don't know what's going on here. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right, well, I have to put the phone to my ear so I can hear you.
Cindy, it's not just
Yes.
you. Half of the stuff that when Joe was reading it off, I didn't hear. My volume kept cutting out.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Item 7, citizens' comments. If you're interested in comments, if you're able to type your name and address into the chat bar. If you are unable to do so, then unmute yourself and request to be heard. Seeing and hearing none.
There's somebody trying, who's 77 or 3771752?
I think that's Cindy.
That's me. That's
Oh,
me.
okay. All right.
Item 8, reports of officers and staff, Director of Planning and Development report.
I think you have later in the evening the POCD, so I was going to address it under that. That's really all I have.
Okay, thank you. Item 8B, ZEO memo.
If anybody has any questions on anything, I think the 3 things I mentioned here are we'll be talking about under old business. Any questions on home occupation permit that I gave. But that's it. You had my report. If you have no questions on it, nothing more to say.
Great. Thanks very much, Cindy. Item C, Town of Thompson budget reports, July 2020.
We've expended 7.9% of our budget. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Item 9, correspondence. There was no minutes from the ZBA. The meeting was canceled. We received a public hearing notice from Webster and Douglas. Any questions or comments on those? Item 10, signing of Mylar, proposed PV solar array. Say what? Hydroelectric LLC.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
There's no way I could get that Mylar on for you guys to see it, but it looks great. It's fine.
Okay, no concerns with it?
No, I don't have any concerns with it, no.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Lanky?
Yes, I was just going to make the motion for you to sign the Mylar for the proposed PV solar array for Say What Hydroelectric LLC.
I'll second the motion, John Rice.
Motion made by Mr. Lanky, seconded by Mr. Rice to authorize the chair to sign the Mylar for the PV solar array Say What Hydroelectric LLC. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, it'll be a yes to authorize the signature, no to not. Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Mr. Hill, yes. Mr. Lenke.
John B. Linky, yes.
Mr. Lenke, yes. Mr. Santos.
Brian Santos, yes.
Mr. Santos, yes. Mr. Rice.
All right, yes.
Mr. Rice, yes. Mr. Rogers.
Missy DeRogers, yes.
Mr. Rogers, yes. Ms. Langlois.
Darlene Langlois, yes.
Ms. Langlois, yes. Mr. Blackmer.
Randy Blackmer, yes.
Mr. Blackmer, yes. And Joseph Brown, yes.
Now reach right through and sign it.
Yeah. I'll stop by the office sometime early in the next couple of days to sign that. I'll get in touch with the ZEO and or I guess the ZEO. Okay. Item 11, old business, Brickyard Road bonding and reclamation.
My apologies to the commission. I have not even had time to call. So I will try to see what's going on. I know we said August. I do have some site visits Thursday, so I will take a ride out there Thursday. I'll give them a call.
Excellent.
Okay.
They'll suggest it be an item under old business for next month's agenda. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay.
Bates Auto
All right.
Lighthouse Road.
Okay. I do have two people here, Attorney Cuttenwire and Carlos, that I would ask for them to be unmuted because I believe that they probably at some point want to say something. And I give Attorney Cuttenwire my apologies. I told him I would send this memo to him when I finished it, and I did not. I totally forgot to. But I believe that Tara or Joe can post this so that everybody can see it. Did everybody get this memo? I sent it around 4:30 today.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got it here somewhere.
I've got it.
Okay.
I can go ahead, Tara.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Here it
Just so hard for me to pull stuff up from my work email at home.
is. This one I had ready to go.
Excellent.
Okay. So, Ernie, are you there? And Carlos?
I'm here.
Right
here, yep.
Okay, all right. So what I'm basically going to do is just read this. This is, and if you need to interrupt me as I'm reading it, any of the members, please do so. So I think you're all familiar with the Bates Auto Part and 64 Linehouse Road. And they've been a licensed salvage operation from the state of Connecticut. But presently in April 2020, their license was terminated from the state of Connecticut License Division due to lack of insurance on the operation. Historically, Auto Bates was allowed to operate with the Connecticut Salvage Operation License in the town of Thompson under the non-conforming town of Thompson zoning regulation. It is my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not from Thompson, it is my understanding that the business has been in operation since the 1940s. Does anybody know otherwise?
1938.
What was that?
It was 1938 when it opened up.
Okay, so there it goes, right there. Let me find my pen. I believe my dog probably stole it. All right, 1938. I'll have to remember that number. Okay. So the recent history, my involvement in this is owner and operator Fred Bates died in 2020, leaving the business to his wife, Shara Bates. From the time of his death, it appeared Shara Bates ran the operation, and I say appeared. I really don't know that for a fact, but the operation was still up and running because they had the license. Unfortunately, what? I can't hear who's trying to talk.
I don't think it was anybody, Cindy. I think it was background noise.
Oh, okay. Shara Bates died in April 2020. From what I understand, Attorney Berry from Bloomfield is an executive of the state at only 64 Linehouse Road. Officer Daly of the Department of Motor Vehicle Enforcement Division terminated the motor vehicle salvage license in April due to the lack of insurance. The registered LLC officers from the Secretary of State office, September 2006, 2007. Frederick Bates, president, now deceased. Alan B. Chubbuck, secretary. And I believe Frederick J. Bates, the treasurer, again, I should have put now deceased, if it's the same person. I'm taking it, it is. There is presently a judgment lien. Judgment debitors is Frederick J. Bates in Linehouse Road. LLC, I added a D in there, it should not be there. Both of the address of 64 Linehouse Road. Judgment creditors, Carlos Bastos, 455 Riverside Drive, North Gronadale. And the other history on it in communication with the Town of Thompson Tax Department, taxes are delinquent, really delinquent. Presently, 2 parties are interested in continuing the operation of the salvage business. I checked the application from the Department of Motor Vehicles, and I'm going to add in here, I literally tried calling the motor vehicle office today. They're not taking any phone messages. They're telling you to email. And I actually, because I had Officer Daly's number, I did have a conversation with him, hoping that he could give me some insight as to, how they will operate with salvage businesses. But it was basically in their application, the 2 important things. Every proposed location of motor vehicle junkyard is treated as a new location, regardless of previous approval from either the local authorities or the DMV when ownership or the location change. Second, let me turn the page. The local authorities must hold a hearing on the application before it is granted, and this hearing will be scheduled within 65 days after the receipt of an application for the hearing from the licensed applicant. The applicant must pay a standard fee for the hearing plus cost of advertising and conducting the hearing. So, planning and zoning issues for license approval are by the approval agency, which is the Planning and Zoning Commission. Present ownership or inheritance is unclear. Attorney Cottonwire here is Attorney Cottonwire, who represents Carlos Bastos, will be is here tonight at the meeting. A relative of the Bates family is interested in purchasing the property to revive the business, but there are several violations on the property. Reviewing and attempting to organize a very disorganized record indicates that there was an issue with the amount of land that the operation could use to conduct their business, which was 2+ to 3+ acres. Just not really clear, and I'd have to really do some more research on that. There were several meetings with the PZZ, and without a concentrated review of the record, I do not know if they can use 2+ acres or 3+ acres. Nevertheless, it is apparent that the salvage material is spread around the property. Junk vehicles were placed on 65 and 77 Linehouse Road. Recently, this came to my attention, and I've been working with the salvage operation out of Woodstock to clear the violation on 65 Linehouse Road, but no attempt has been made to clear automobiles from 77 Linehouse Road. There's still a lot of work to do in both. The caretaker of the property lives in a trailer on the property, and I have continually told him the trailer needs to go. His reasoning for staying there is to watch the property and advise any customers the business is closed. I've received a violation report from DEP citing violations on the property. Reviewing the record, it appears years ago Mr. Bate was instructed by the PZC to install a fence 100 feet from the boundary line of property owners at 88 Linehouse Road. Skip the name because I can't pronounce it. Once again, from the records I reviewed, I could not determine if the fence was installed. So that would be an issue that needs to be verified. 2 interested parties want to know, can this business be reopened according to the zoning regulations? And it's a non-conforming business. So I guess it's open for questions. And Ernie, if you want to say anything, if the commission would like to hear from you on your part on this and Carlos' part in this, I guess we can open it up.
So by way of background, and this is Ernest Cotnoir. I represent Carlos Bastos, who's also on the call, on the meeting tonight. So by way of background, several years ago now, Mr. Bastos had entered into an agreement with Mr. Bates to join him and purchase a half interest in the business. What happened is there was a problem with that. Mr. Bastos contributed over $100,000 towards the purchase price of the half interest of the business. And then there was a difference of opinion about the agreement. And the long and short of it is, in the end, Mr. Bastos had to sue Mr. Bates. And that is the genesis of the judgment lien that Ms. Dunn talked about. So the original debt, if you will, comes from an attempt to purchase the business. And this is money that's already been put into the business and was used, in fact, to make some improvements at the time. Subsequently, Mr. Bates had originally agreed to pay off the judgment lien. We were working with him in order to come up with terms to do that. And while that was going on, Mr. Bates unfortunately passed away. And all of this was sort of put into the estate. Now, both the business, the recycling business, and the real estate are both owned by corporations. One is owned by an LLC, and one is owned by a corporation, of which Mr. Bates was the sole interest owner. So essentially, once he passed away, all of those interests became interests of the estate. And we were in the process then of, we've put a claim into the estate. We were in the process of working with Mr. Berry, the executor of the estate, to purchase the property from him, both the interests in the corporation that runs the recycling business and the interest in the corporation that owns the real estate. So originally there was a third party that was going to purchase all of that. That purchase and sale fell through, and that leaves us in the situation we're in now. We have a hearing actually coming up in probate court to determine if the probate court will allow the sale of the business to Mr. Bastos, essentially in satisfaction of his lien. So obviously the first step to all of this is trying to ascertain whether or not we can get a recycling permit for the property. My experience with motor vehicles during this pandemic has been exactly the same as Ms. Dunn's, which is to say, I can't get any kind of an answer one way or another. The only person who's actually returned my calls is Mr. Daly, who said that the current permit was pulled, but that another permit could be applied for. And in fact, he said it would be better from Mr. Bastos' point of view if he got his own permit as opposed to trying to continue on the Bates permit because there's been some issues. So the goal here really for Mr. Bastos is to purchase this, keep it as a going concern, but frankly address many of the issues that have been ongoing there for some time. A couple of those issues are, there's been some fence that Cindy spoke about has not been put up or not been put up in its entirety. That's an issue that Mr. Bastos would like to address. There's also, frankly, materials sort of scattered around. There's debris there, all of which would be cleaned up as part of Mr. Bastos' operation. And finally, it's also significant back taxes for the town of Thompson, which we would like to start to address as well. So all of this from Mr. Bastos' point of view is trying to essentially complete the original purchase which he was trying to do and to recoup investment that he's already made in this, which is substantial. Again, sort of the first piece is trying to find out whether or not the permit can be obtained to keep the recycling operation going. So I know it's already been a long night, and that's more than you ever wanted to know, but
So our issue, go ahead.
When this happened many years ago, I did go into the property. I don't know if anyone remembers the property, maybe 7 years ago or so, when I 7 years ago when I was actually at the property, and I had started to clean up the entire property. I had basically moved all the junk cars onto one location, and I had picked up all the debris, all the metal that was basically on the ground. All the tires were separated. We had several container loads of tires, 18 wheelers with just filled with tires, maybe 4 or 5 hauled out of the property. And my disagreement with Fred was that he felt like there was value in some of the vehicles that were there, had been there for 5, 10 years or 15, 20 years maybe, and he just never he didn't like the way that I was cleaning it up. It was just we basically had cleaned up the whole property, separated all the material that is good and all the material that is bad. The bad material had pretty much left the property by the time I had left, and our next order of business was to address the fence that we needed to put back up. So that was when we split.
Okay, so this is Cindy. So it's my understanding that you don't want to proceed until you know that you can actually get a permit from the town of Thompson, and the town of Thompson would sign a motor vehicle license application. Am I accurate in that?
that's correct. Because as you can tell, the value of the business obviously is based on being able to get a new license. And that's the only way that it makes sense to purchase it from the estate.
So do you consider, Ernie, this is for you, do you consider this, Carlos, a part owner of that property because of the agreement that he had with Fred years ago?
Well, he's not at this point, because he's really a judgment creditor officially. But the ironic thing is that the money that we're talking about was all invested in the business. So, he's technically, legally a creditor of the estate, and he does have a claim into the estate. But the irony here is that the money that he's owed is all money that went into the business when he was, working with Fred.
Now, who owns, now does Chadwick owns the LLC on that property? Does he own the property or the business?
Oh, go ahead.
One LLC owns the business, and the other LLC owns the real estate. All of the business interests were owned by Mr. Bates when he passed away.
Right.
Is there a document that's showing that Mr. Carlos or Bastos had an agreement with him before obviously he passed away, and there's proof of that?
There is, and in fact that was the evidence in the Superior Court case that led to the judgment lien being placed. So Mr. Bastos reduced that to judgment officially in the Superior Court. That was about 5 years ago now.
And so does he have a chance to get the property, or the family member that wants to purchase it too? What happens then?
Well, at this point, the title really is in the estate, in the probate court. And so anybody who wanted to either buy the interests from the estate or otherwise make a claim against the estate would have to do that through probate court. And that's exactly what we've done.
Okay.
So the reason, I've had conversation with both Carlos and the other gentleman, and listening to everything, doing the research I've done, talking to Ernie, talking to Alan. So my bottom line to them, regardless of the legal issues, the decision of the zoning office is, and at this point is the Planning and Zoning Commission, is this, are you going to allow this non-conforming operation to continue? In which they will have to, according to motor vehicle, they still have to come to you guys and apply for it.
Now, I was told the state's not giving any more license, but they will grandfather me since I'm in the family. I just take over.
You need to identify yourself, John.
Yes. I
They don't know who you are. Can you identify who spoke? John just now?
Yes.
Okay. So identify yourself to the Planning and Zoning Commission so they know who you are, because you are the other party that's interested in purchasing the property.
Okay, my name is John Carpenter. I've been, that was my cousins, the Bates of my cousins. I've been in that yard since 1953 when I was born. And I'm interested in taking over the place and continuing the business under Bates Auto Parts, but just transferring the business right over to me to get it going and running. Because right now there's no money. I can't pay Carlos or anybody else with it if I can't get inside the place to clean it. So.
Okay. So as I explained to you, I believe that's all legal issues. The bottom line issue for the plan, and correct me, Planning and Zoning Commission members, if I'm wrong, the bottom line is someone has to make an application to the commission because you want a new license.
Yeah,
a license in a different person's name.
That's my understanding, Cindy.
Right. Okay. Ernie, is that your understanding?
It is, and certainly if Mr. Carpenter wants to try to work through the probate court and purchase the business and pay Mr. Bastos, he can certainly do that. He's got that opportunity. Basically, what we're trying to do is, recoup the amount that's owed, but also make the business productive again as it was for a while Carlos was running it with Fred. But either way, somebody has to make a new application, and the question is the Planning and Zoning Commission going to be willing to issue another approval for another permit? Right. Now, obviously, you'd still have to go through DMV and jump through all of the hoops that they have. We're not suggesting that is streamlined or eliminated, but the first issue for DMV is this something that the town will permit? So that's the point of, I think, trying to get some direction from the commission.
Right.
Okay, and so in asking the commission in doing this, as a CEO, my concentration is the current violations. And I understand the 65 Linehouse Road is totally separate from 64, and actually even 77 Linehouse Road is separate. But the salvage material went from 64 over to those two places. And while the person in Woodstock is doing his best, as I said, I believe I said, it's still not the best. It's still not cleaned up. There's still not only one unregistered vehicles on those properties. That's all they can have. And I understand that the children are the executor of 60, are the inheritors of 65 Linehouse Road, and I never even went as far as looking into 77 Linehouse Road, even though it belongs to someone in the Bates family. I mean, I couldn't even find out if he was still alive, living in Florida, or if he died.
As far as I know, Uncle Elmer died years ago.
And so who was responsible for cleaning that up? Because I do not believe the gentleman from Woodstock is even approaching that part. But all that equipment over there came from 64.
Well, all the equipment is gone now. The payloader, bulldozer.
Well,
it's all gone.
Okay.
Somebody took that.
All right, well, I'll have to take another ride by there then.
I believe the kids sold the payloader to the grandfather. Bulldozer, I don't know where that went. Somebody
Okay.
bought that. That guy from Woodstock sold it to somebody.
Okay, so my bottom line is this. When I go back out there, all I want to see on both properties is one unregistered vehicle, because that's all you're not allowed to have. If that is not the case, then Bates Auto is still in violation, because they're the ones that put all those salvage pieces over on that property.
Right. I can get rid of it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rice?
Because I don't think the Planning and Zoning Commission is going to approve any application when there's so many violations.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
pointed out, 5 or 6 violations, so.
Mr. Rice?
I think the question, as I see it, the question before us is that, are we gonna allow to renew that permit? And if I'm looking at Cindy's report here, it says from the Department of Motor Vehicles application state, every proposed location of a motor vehicle junkyard is treated as a new location, irregardless of previous approvals from either the local authorities or the DMV when the ownership or the location change. So I think the thing before us, as I see it, would treat that as a new application, as the Department of Motor Vehicle is saying. In addition to that, I know the old regulations, that I believe, Tara, correct me, that's an RA 80 zone, and that's, the junkyard is not permitted in that zone, nor is it permitted in our new regulations. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was just checking the current regs online, John, and I couldn't find any language in the current iteration of the zoning regulations that permits a junkyard, and there definitely is none in the new.
There's never been, and in the new regulations, under all the table of permitted uses in every zone, there's never a junkyard permit. And even with gas stations, which I kind of question, but it's besides the point. But so I think our hands are tied is to tell this individual that's applying here is that according to DMV and our current regulations and past regulations, it's not allowed.
But it's non-conforming, John. It's been in operation, as you said, I believe you said, since 1938. So it's a non-conforming. What I was trying to find in the records is, did the zoning commission actually give a permit for this operation? And there's going to take a lot more time than what I have put into it to find that answer.
If this was established in 1938, as somebody said, that really way before planning and zoning. And
right, so it's a non-conforming operation.
Well, it's not, it's non-conforming, it's not allowed, period.
But, all right, so
I
then.
I know the point you're trying to make, Cindy, but if the, and I don't remember who raised it, if it is in fact the case that the transfer of ownership or whatever would require a new license to be pulled, then it seems to me that the logic suggests that the existing non-conforming argument goes out the window. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% on that, but that
Okay.
seems fine to me.
You know what I left out of here? Go ahead.
Cindy.
I was reading from Cindy's memo, page 1 on the bottom, Department of Motor Vehicles. So how are we gonna tell them, yeah, go ahead and get a junkyard vehicle when they're applying for a new location? And they start.
All right, there's two things to this. There's two things to this. And unfortunately, I left out the brief of communication with Rich Roberts on this, and I apologize for that. It just slipped my mind this morning, and I can't really recall, and I don't think I have it in the folder, but I can look to see if I put that in the folder. And there was a second point of it, and that's why I asked Ernie the question: does Carlos have an ownership in that operation?
Regardless, Cindy, it's a new application.
Correct.
Did you check with the motor vehicle department to get this verbiage that you use in number 1?
It's not.
No, I downloaded it. I Googled it and downloaded it from the website.
It's not a new. It's not a new application if there's no change in ownership.
Right.
Right.
And what we're doing is buying the existing entities that own it.
But just, Mr.
No, but he
Carver,
couldn't,
you're indicating that all of them, both LLCs belong to Mr. Bates, Tim Bates, which I know. But anyway, so the original owner isn't the owner of the new application. So
Well,
it's a brand new application, brand new owner.
The owner is the legal entities. So the LLC and the corporation are the owners.
But isn't that in the name of Tim Bates?
No.
It's Fred Bates.
Fred
but no.
Bates.
Fred, I'm
No.
sorry, I was thinking there's another.
No, he was the owner of the corporation, but the corporation owned the actual business and the land.
Yeah.
Then it turned out that LLC, which Chaddick, Alan Chaddick, is the president of the
No, Alan is the secretary.
secretary.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hell.
I've got two documents in front of me that I got off after looking at Cindy's question here about junkyards. Chapter 405, Section 21-10 allows towns to write ordinances for relicensing of junk dealers and regulation of junkyards. And on top of that, as of March 31st, 2009, the federal government decided to get involved with junk yards. So there's a lot of laws out there that is, in my opinion, even if we wrote a town ordinance and could establish licenses, the hurdles that the owner is going to go through, especially with the federal government, is crazy. And the federal government for the attorney is Section 25.56, if you'd like to look it up. It's called Responsibilities of Junkyards and Salvage Yards and Auto Recyclers. It's pretty heavy.
What section is it? What section is it, Alvin?
Well, the top of it, it said 28-CFR, Section 25.56, Responsibilities of Junkyard, Salvage Yards, and Auto Recyclers. I'm going to bring this stuff in tomorrow so you can look at it.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
It seems to me, and I'm not a lawyer, it seems to me
So
that...
to get back to John Rice's question, we couldn't issue a license, period, because we have no authority. Other than if we wanted to accept what the state of Connecticut has in Chapter 405, Section 21-10.
If I may again, Alvin and Joe, is that in doing this, you better check with the zoning board of appeals. I think they have the sole.
No, not on junkyards.
Not on junkyards.
Not on junkyards. No, I checked that today.
Yeah.
No, I checked that today. I checked it.
Excuse me.
Hello?
Excuse me. I was told that all I had to do, since it was in the family, all I had to do was get the insurance on it and send a copy to the motor vehicle department, and they would reissue my license under the same base auto parts, everything. It's just I'm the operator of it.
Can I address one more section in Connecticut statutes?
Mr. Hill?
Chapter 405, 21-9, and I'll read it. Definitions. As used in this chapter, junk dealer means any person who engages in business or a dealer and trader in junk, old metals, scraps, yada, yada, yada. And let me read the last sentence. Which has not been a part or is not intended to be a part of any motor vehicles is stored or deposited. They're just talking about a junk dealer, not with vehicles. And I think that was written only because of what the federal government got involved with their fingers in the pie.
But Alvin,
Our hands are
part
tied.
of that business.
I would like to say that the town isn't issuing the license. They're only allowing the operation to merely exist. The state is the one who issues the license, and the state is the one who oversees the operation.
Correct.
It seems to
So
me.
we do not have an ordinance.
Yeah. It seems to me that from the either the ownership has not changed because the owner is the corporation, in which case we would not have to approve a new location because it hasn't changed owners. Or if it has changed owners, we would have to approve it, and we would not approve it because it doesn't fit in our regulations. So it seems to me that either way, this is not something that we have control over.
Now, where does the trading hands come in?
Where do the what come?
The trading of
The what
hands.
come in?
The trading of hands. I was told I had to go to town to get that.
Whoops. I don't know. I'm not really clear on what you're saying, but I'm looking up non-conforming regulations.
Cindy, if you're able to continue working on this, and
I'm sorry, there's too much noise, Joe, if you want to.
yeah, I'm just trying to.
A licença nova no nome dele?
I would suggest working on.
Carlos, would you mind muting yourself for just a moment? There's background noise on your line.
He has, yeah, thank you. I would suggest if we need to put this on next month's agenda. I don't think we have the information we need to make any decisions one way or another. Like I said, I think my suspicion is that it's either out of our hands because it doesn't need our approval, or it's out of our hands because it's not something that we would approve. But I think we need a little bit more information.
Okay, that works for me because, yeah, I don't know if it works for both the people that are interested in it, but as I even was writing this today, I'm going, does any of this make sense for you guys to make any kind of decision? Because it is very convoluted, the whole process, ownership, 64, 65, 67. I mean, I've been just dealing with this for months.
There are a lot of legal intricacies that I don't think this commission is qualified to adjudicate.
Right. No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'll concur with you on that one, Joe. I think the only issue before you is whether it qualifies as an existing non-conforming as it's understood. And if it does, it continues to exist. And if it doesn't, it has to cease to exist.
Yeah. And that's what I was start. And I believe that was my communication with Rich Roberts too. And unfortunately, I didn't print them and put them in the folder here. I'm so apologize for that. Again, it took a while to pull that together, even though it's 2 pages. But you don't want to write a book, but you want to give some facts so that you kind of understand what's going on. So I think you've got the premise of what's going on, both from our point and from the 2 people who want to buy it, with Ernie's input, Carlos' input, and John's input.
Now, well, I'd like to say something else. I'm looking at the property itself. The neighbors are complaining about the way the place looks. So that's why I wanted to get some kind of a stamp approving to get in there and then clean up so that the neighbors didn't complain about the place. I mean, it looks like a bomb went off in there. That's how bad the 77 looks.
Yep, you're absolutely right, but I think the commission members all know that violations don't get taken care of overnight. I don't know if there's any commission member wants to agree or disagree with me. So
I would just say keep following up on that too, as well as Cindy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I certainly am.
In the short term too, there are some questions about the legality of who actually owns it. So again, that's ongoing in the probate court. In fact, we've got a hearing tomorrow. So I think under the circumstances, frankly, I think the commission, that the idea to continue it is probably a good one, to give everybody a chance to try to sort out, what are a lot of moving parts here.
Right.
And by then we'll have a little more information from the probate court as well.
Yeah, so we'll put it on next month's agenda.
And from my point of view, it was so great to share all this with you guys.
Cindy, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Has anyone on this base auto, has anyone brought in an application?
No,
Okay.
It's just conversation.
Okay, that's good, because I wouldn't want a 65-day running period.
No, I wouldn't accept an application until I talk to, have all of these, like Ernie said, ongoing situations resolved.
Yeah, I printed one out, but I never sent it in. I'm waiting to find out what the scoop is.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Bastos, Mr. Cottonwire, Mr. Carpenter. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Item 11C, Mason House Chase Road Proposed Use Discussion Report.
Okay, I lost my memo. All these papers. I basically, I think I said in my memo, I think the way you changed adjusted the regulations there, I think they can do what they want to do. Having the spa for the guests and then opening it up to the public for membership and or day relaxation for a group of people. Do you agree with me, Tara?
Yeah, that's why we made the change.
Yeah. Okay. So I think they just want to be assured that that's exactly, how it's going to be for them. And so, wish I could find my memo, the rest of my memo, what I said on it. So, Does anybody have any questions?
Sure.
Sorry. Let me see what I said. Oh, okay, here it is. I found it, guys. Mason House, Chase Street proposed use discussion report, discussion with Joanne Bates. The owners are looking to offer spa services, massages, pedicure, manicure, and facials for guests, open membership to the public, and offer day of luxury services to the public. It appears in the revised regulation this use would be allowed. Does everybody agree with me?
Yes.
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 Okay. All right.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Cindy, very much. 11D, POCD update report. Madam Planner.
Okay, I'll make this as quick and painless as possible. So we had our first working group meeting about 2 weeks ago, understanding that we have to have this document completed by the end of the year. We have another meeting tomorrow night to start to actually do the work. And those, much like the work on the regulations, those meetings will be almost weekly. I think there's only a couple of weeks that we skip. And in each week, we're going to be working on a discrete section, a draft that is pulled together over time. Now, the statutory requirements, or the statutes state that it is the Planning and Zoning Commission ultimately that is responsible for the approval of the document. I will repeat my invitation to anybody who wants to join in on those. Joe and Charlene are involved already. Alvin, Brian, and John Lenke. There are sections I'm probably going to ask you to come in on a little later on. But that's sort of well down in the process. What I would like to do is, in the place where I would have a memo on the agenda to bring to the P&Z over the next couple of months, the draft that has been worked on. You may comment on that in these meetings. It's certainly your right since it's a P&Z document. Or you can just keep it for review and send me comments. But I certainly want to keep you guys updated on how it is progressing. And that's pretty much it. So if anybody wants to join in tomorrow night's meeting, just send me an email and I'll respond with the Zoom link to dial in. Because I know we haven't had enough time spent together.
Thank you very much, Tira. Great.
I just have a question. So is there a way that we can all be forwarded, or how do we know? I know that it sounds stupid, but I want to make sure that everyone is getting an invitation, everyone gets the email. Do you have a way of checking when you send an email if somebody opens it so that you know that they saw it?
I can designate a read receipt if I want. I don't usually do that, but I can.
I think that it honestly, not for any other reason except that we know that people are getting it, because let's assume that we think everyone's getting the emails and the Zoom and the link and the Winnie and the Facebook and the, you know what I mean? And no one is, then we need to be sure that, yes, you got the email, whether you opened it, read it or not, at least it says read. I mean, I wouldn't hold them accountable saying, well, it said that you read it, but at least I would feel comfortable knowing that one was sent, one was opened, and then we could say, we've sent you 17 emails and you haven't even opened one of them. And they could say, what? I didn't know. I mean, so it could be going to their junk. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just think that should kind of be a protocol for, especially when we can't meet in person. We don't know if they're on Zoom. We don't know if they have a phone number. Like, I think it would just be a good thing to keep track.
I can send stuff to the commission with read receipt. That's no problem. It's literally just clicking a function in my Outlook.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, new business, discussion of updates to website landing page for planning and zoning.
Table.
Oh, wonderful. Item 13.
Joe, a question. What's the landing site? What is that?
It's when you click on planning and zoning on the website, it's the first page that pops up for the planning and zoning.
That gives you the staff what we
Yeah.
do, the explanation of what we do, and
Exactly.
staff and the board members, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to get some things changed on there because we still have an application that has John Mahan's name on it.
Yeah. We
I
will
know
get
it's
to that
not-
next month, I promise.
But it's in the, well, if you're gonna add it next month, how about adding that planning and development landing page? I want to discuss that one.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Item 13, commissioners' comments.
I just have one very quick one. I
Yeah.
know we've said this before. Thank you for doing this like 4 times already. But with that said, I think there's things that we like in there. There's things that we didn't all agree with. There's things that we love. But I really feel like nothing was done off the cuff. And the best of the abilities that we had, we listened to people who knew more than us. And you listened to people who wanted more than you. And I, like Joe, I feel like that document was done with the best of intention for the town of Thompson to grow. So thank you very much. And maybe some people were overzealous and some weren't zealous enough, but I think that when the document goes forward, it will definitely be easier for the public to read it, to find out exactly where they are, what they need to do. They don't have to flip all over. And that's not saying that the people that did it prior to didn't do a great job. Just things have changed. There's ways to make things easier. And so I will say that I don't know if I love the document until I see the cover and it complete, but I just said I feel like we just did our best. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Any other commissioners' comments?
Second, Charlene.
Yeah, second, Charlene. Yeah, I will also, I won't keep us here much longer, but I will also, as I said in my email this morning, I am so proud, really, of the work we did as commission on that document. As I said earlier, we discussed it, we contemplated it, we sometimes argued about it. I think, obviously, Tira deserves enormous gratitude for her hard work. I think Alvin did a ton of behind or between meetings work, and Brian as well, and others, but really, really a tremendous task, and I'm happy that it was approved. My second commissioner's comment is that last week, my niece and I stayed in the treehouse, and it was as magical as you think it would have been.
That is the best news I've heard all day.
So it was
That's
wonderful. I couldn't wait to come back and tell you guys, if you've got a little kid, I can't recommend it enough. So.
That's great.
Yeah, so I'm not a commissioner, but I'm going to make the comment anyway. It was, it was actually, in a perverse way, a pleasure to work on this document with all you guys. I am kind of a glutton for punishment, but even where we disagreed, I think the disagreement and the discussion made the document sharper, and you guys are great. You did it. You pulled it over the finish line. So I thank you and I commend you.
Thanks, Kira. Item 14, next meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting, September 28th, 2020. That's right, our next meeting isn't for another month. Can you believe? Item 15, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make it.
Mr.
I'll
Blanky,
second it.
adjourned, seconded by Alvin Hill. This meeting is adjourned at 10:23 p.m. Thank you all. Have a great night and a great week.
Thank you. You
Good night.
too. Good night.
Good work, everybody.